Chapter 741. The Incredible Third More. The ninja continent is vast and boundless. Some ordinary people are so poor that they may not be able to finish it. Even ninjas are rarely fully accessible. Although the entire ninja continent seems to be dominated by only the 5 major ninja villages. Their existence is just the tip of the iceberg. Some remote, indigenous, or various and so on, exist. Some of them don't even know the existence of ninja and ninjutsu, and they only live here all their lives. Frontier. Gong Yi at this moment has come here. Sage mode exited, Gong Yi also landed his feet in the air. Now he stood on the towering peak, quietly looking ahead. After a long journey, he also came here at this moment. The terrifying sense of consciousness spread. Gong Yi locked his gaze on a cave in front of him that was shrouded in thick fog. Nice place, it's really hard to find here. Uchiha Obito's chakra clearly, Gong Yi's handsome face showed a smile. What are you going to do now, Fei? Inside the cave in the border jungle, Uchiha Obito asked, who was showing his half-body and looking forward. I have already made arrangements. Even if Nagato is already dead, it doesn't matter at all. Sitting on the half-human high stone in front of him, Uchiha Obito said indifferently, without the slightest turbulence. For him, it doesn't seem to feel any irritability at all now. As if the entire plan to follow, he still seems to be a perfect master. Okay. Looking at Uchiha Obito's appearance, Ju shrugged and replied. Now that Obito has a plan, he won't go any further. Is there any arrangement? Let's hear it. At this time, when the two were silent for a moment, a playful voice suddenly appeared. It seems to be carrying an echo, constantly echoing in the cave. Uchiha Obito. Ju. Both of them sank suddenly in their hearts. Eyes immediately. Looking along the source of the voice, there was a man standing in the empty place just now. He was wearing a black combat uniform, with an outstanding temperament, and his long black hair was meticulously tucked behind him. On the handsome face, a pair of dark pupils are like the sun, the moon and the stars, so that people can't help but be drawn in. The identity of a man is echoed in Yuba Obito Yuju's heart. Konoha Village 5 generations Hokage Gong Yi. This, how is it possible? Seeing the sudden appearance of Gong Yi, was definitely more shocked than you two. He clearly came here, and he has set up surveillance around him. Now if there is any trouble outside, you will know it at the first time. Now, the 5 generations of Hokage Gong Yi in front of him have all come to his side, and he has not noticed anything. Cold sweat broke out behind him, and he thought it was a bit incredible. Gong Yi just now, if he has a purpose, the two of them will not have time to react at all. Put it bluntly, whoever he is quietly trying to kill may not find the source until death. Thinking of this, Uchiha Obito and Ju, the two of them are even more afraid of Gong Yi. It's true that Gong Yi is strong, but his elusive and invisible abilities are even more terrifying. You're a guest, Mr. Madara. Back to his senses, finished speaking with a smile, and then immediately sank into the ground. Now he doesn't want to be here, to participate in the affairs of the two. After all, in the eyes of everyone, he is only an existence in charge of investigation. Seeing Ju's departure, Uchiha Obito just looked down and ignored it. Next second, he turned his head to look at Gong Yi again. I really didn't expect that Lord Hokage would still be able to find me here. It took me a lot of trouble to find you. With a smile on Gong Yi's face, he said lightly. What do you want to do? Uchiha Obito's whole body suddenly began to have a trace of chakra fluctuations, and he was obviously ready to act at any time. Hee, you are so unfriendly, it really makes me sad. Gong Yi shrugged, with a sneer on his face. After all, we haven't seen classmates for a long time. That's how you treat old classmates. Old classmate. Hearing Gong Yi finish speaking, Uchiha Obito sighed inwardly. The orange Uzumaki mask, there was a hint of shock on his face. But soon, he also immediately recovered and said coldly, I don't understand what you are talking about. Obito, it's not like you used to be. Smile on his face, Gong Yi continued. No, it's Uchiha Obito after all, I always cared about this name back then. Quote. Hearing Gong Yi's words, Uchiha Obito fell silent. Now that he was behind the mask, his eyes began to widen. Uchiha Obito, this familiar and unfamiliar name, made him recall a lot. I don't know how long it has been, I haven't heard such a name. But, Uchiha Obito, he doesn't have any nostalgia, but immediately started to get tense. His first reaction at the moment was just incessantly thinking about where he was exposed. After all, since Uchiha Madara died, he has been impersonating him like this, and it is impossible for anyone to know his true identity. What do you mean? Uchiha Obito suppressed his composure, and said in a deep voice, Uchiha Obito, the descendant of my clan. Although he was ready to strike at any time, Uchiha Obito did not admit it. For him, now that the situation is in front of him, he feels that the 5 generations of Hokage in front of him are deceiving him. If he admits it so vaguely, it is very likely that he will be trapped. Gong Yi's prophetic plot skills, Uchiha Obito naturally I don't know. His current identity cannot be revealed, because once it is really revealed, then the future plan can be said to have completely collapsed. Therefore, in such a situation, Uchiha Obito knows what he says, and he will never admit it easily. After all, this is related to everything in the future, how could it be exposed by Gong Yi in a few words? Just like that, Uchiha Obito admitted that it was too much to make people feel like a joke. Hee. Obito's voice just fell, and now Gong Yi's sarcastic expression is even stronger. He naturally knew that it was impossible for Uchiha Obito to admit this easily now. Chapter 742. An old classmate's reminiscence. Forget it, get rid of the annoying things first, let's have a good reminiscence. Seeing that Uchiha Obito was unwilling to admit it, Gong Yi didn't stop talking nonsense. A chakra burst into the sky immediately. As soon as Gong Yi's voice fell, he saw it immediately. Raise your finger to the other side. Immediately, a golden light appeared, illuminating the surrounding dark caves brightly. Yes. Uchiha Obito this time, he is also immediately. Dodge. No one would have thought that Gong Yi was still talking 1 second, and the next second he suddenly released an attack. But, Gong Yi didn't pay any attention to Uchiha Obito now, his attack was below the other side. The golden brilliance instantly condensed and formed a golden longsword. It is incomparably sharp, extremely sharp, and it looks like it has a kind of slaughter. Swish. As soon as it appears, immediately rushed into the ground. Was a loud bang, and the whole cave was shaking. And the ground that was full of gravel shattered before, and the inside was just right to be penetrated. He didn't leave at all, but has been hiding here 100 meters away. Ju's face at this moment was astonished, and his eyes widened. Obviously, he couldn't believe that he was hiding so well. How could he be discovered that his thoughts had just arrived here, and his whole body gradually turned white, and finally became a pool of liquid. As the spore clone. The corner of the eye, Gong Yi shrugged and smiled playfully. He didn't show any surprises, even everything was in the master. There are a huge number of them, and at the beginning, 100,000 were produced by the real Uchiha Madara. The end which is the main body, in the end which is the avatar, Gong Yi can't actually tell. Because they seem to have individual lives, completely different from the previous clones. But it doesn't matter. If you die now, it will ruin your plan. Reason to get rid of him is that Gong Yi doesn't just like someone eavesdropping here. Well, the reason are that simple, nothing else. Is it absolutely? While retreating, Uchiha Obito couldn't help biting Kiba. 5 generations of Hokage, I really underestimate you. Haha, classmates, our conversation naturally, I don't want to be heard. Gong Yi's previous stern power was withdrawn, and he continued with a smile without changing his face. After all, after I heard the news of your death, I still had a moment of silence for you. But I have to say that your last death also fulfilled your new life this time. Gong Yi smiled lightly, showing a hint of reminiscence. Quote. But although Gong Yi kept talking here, Uchiha Obito didn't answer a word. Silence, endless silence. Under such circumstances, Uchiha Obito seemed to feel that he had nothing to say. Before that, he felt that everything was being controlled by his master. All things are under their own control. The entire ninja continent were also toyed with and applauded by themselves. Whether it's the so-called Omura people, or the scary Akatsuki. They are all chess pieces on their own chessboard, and all of them are being walked according to their own will. But today, while he was still, complacent, feeling that all the plans were about to be completed. Now Gong Yi's sudden appearance makes Uchiha Obito doubt his life. When did he expose himself so perfect? How could it be possible to expose Uchiha Obito thinking about all his actions and all the arrangements before? He thinks that he is perfect, and it is impossible for him to be discovered. Especially since he had been behind the scenes before, it was impossible for anyone to find out. In fact, that's how it was. Everything was done so perfectly by himself, which made it a little hard for him to accept it. Gong Yi in front of him has been deeply troubled by Uchiha Obito, and now his exposure is not a good thing for him. It seems that all this has not been hidden from you. A long time, Uchiha Obito immediately broke the silence. Of course he didn't lie to me. Seeing Uchiha Obito finally admit it, Gong Yi's face was even more smiling. I know everything about the entire ninja continent, but I didn't say it. Everything in the entire ninja continent is clear. Uchiha Obito behind the mask showed a trace of disdain on his face. You are really arrogant, far from what you used to be. The way it was. Gong Yi chuckled, his tone was flat. That's just the self-protection of the weak. If you are like me, not all are the same. But today is different. Our positions have been repositioned, so it's more clear that the two of us are really faithful. Looking at Uchiha Obito, Gong Yi didn't have the slightest mood swing. Huh, is that so? Uchiha Obito did not have the joy of reuniting with the old man after a long absence, but he was still thinking carefully here. At present, it is obviously a very unwise choice to choose to go to war with Gong Yi. At this moment, Sharingan seems to be completely unable to affect him. As for Rinnegan, recalling what happened to Nagato before may not have much effect on Gong Yi. At the same time, under the current situation, no matter what method I use, it is impossible to kill him easily. Even if he really defeated him, once he escaped, his current identity would be exposed. Well, not to mention that the current Gong Yi is strong, and if he fights with him, it is not necessarily who will win. A simple measure, if you really make a move, your side will only be more passive. Moreover, there is an even greater risk that the plan will fail in the future. Thinking of this, Uchiha Obito's expression darkened even more. Just a short while, no matter how much he thinks about it now, Uchiha Obito can't find the perfect solution. It seems that I can only be led by the nose and cannot resist at all. His face was extremely gloomy, and his heart was covered with a layer of haze. He was still there before. A very confident plan. After Gong Yi came out today, it actually made him feel that there was no end. Because of this sudden change, he never thought that this would happen. His identity was exposed, which is the most deadly. Because in the next plan, the identity of Uchiha Madara will determine the future of everything. Chapter 743. Realize true peace. You better stop thinking here. Gong Yi looked at Uchiha Obito a little funny. Gong Yi had already thought about Uchiha Obito's reaction. After all, it was still there before. I felt that I mastered ninjas, and mastered everyone's dynamics. Looked back, I found that I was also under control, and at the same time, it was clear to others. This kind of feeling is indeed a little uncomfortable and a little unacceptable. Especially knowing the current Uchiha Obito, his plan is about to be completed. Now such a thing, no doubt, is actually a great blow to him. But Gong Yi doesn't matter, this is what he wants. Only by letting his mental defenses gradually collapse first can he better execute his plan. Gong Yi didn't wait for Uchiha Obito to speak again, but continued to laugh. I came to see you today, but I actually have a very important matter. Very important thing. Uchiha Obito looked at Gong Yi with a hint of surprise on his face behind the mask, but he was quickly suppressed. There can be anything important between you and me. Hee, since I said there is, then naturally there is. The smile on Gong Yi's face was undiminished. I came here today for a very simple purpose. I want to join hands with you to start the 4th ninja war together. What did you say? Uchiha Obito seems to have heard it wrong. As soon as Gong Yi's voice fell, he immediately couldn't believe it. Cooperating with me in the 4th Ninja World War opened his heart trembling, and now he is a little bit at the Gong Yi in front of him, completely unable to see got it. This plan seems to be what I want to implement next. But he couldn't imagine how this Gong Yi in front of him knew. Could it be that his own plan was really exposed? Such a seamless plan, Uchiha Obito could not imagine how it could be exposed. At the same time, now in this situation, Uchiha Obito can also clearly understand. Only oneself and Ju are the only ones who really know about this plan, and it is absolutely impossible for a third person to know about it. Never betrayed himself when Uchiha Obito thought of this, he couldn't help but laugh. It's impossible to betray yourself, and it is impossible. Therefore, thinking about it like this now, Uchiha Daiichi's face became more and more fearful. Forcibly suppressing all negative emotions, Chiya Obito sneered. Hokage, you really surprised me a little, and you can still come up with such a thing. Joining with me to start the First World War, this really doesn't look like the 5th generation of Hokage, you said it yourself. Tone in his voice, Uchiha Obito wanted to let it go and preempt it. Oh, is this kind of weird? Gong Yi was not affected at all, but continued with a smile. Now the entire ninja world has been rotten for too long, and a real war is needed. And your plan is to want peace, so is my plan to want peace. His hands, Gong Yi no. Waiting for Uchiha Obito to speak, he said lightly, it's just that your peace is illusory, while mine is real. It's real. Do you want to be like the original Hokage Senju Hashirama? You just want to rely on those ridiculous tailed beasts to shock and restrain each other in order to achieve the so-called peace. Uchiha Obito has been shocked many times, and he seems to have gradually calmed down for. Gong Yi said such words. He already knew that Gong Yi in front of him seemed to know everything about him. When thinking of this, Uchiha Obito let go of himself instead of being scruples and hiding. Of the two at the moment is to open the skylight and speak brightly. The idea of the original Hokage Senju Hashirama was too stupid for me. Gong Yi shrugged and said in a deep voice, and your idea is also a bit stupid, and I can't agree with it. The real peace I want to implement is to completely unify the ninja continent. Gong Yi also made no secret that he still needs Uchiha Obito later, so it doesn't matter what the blueprint of this plan is. He is only revealing his ultimate goal, not his own plans. Smile, Gong Yi said, it's very simple to want true peace. With Konoha village as the core carrier, the overall master and the rest of the big villages will not be hindered by any interests. All the separate individuals, there will be greed, and the greed will be war. It's just a matter of integrating these bodies into one, then there will be no competition for each other. Gong Yi's righteousness is right now, but in reality it's just for the sake of being able to rule the ninja continent. Achieving true peace. Sorry, Gong Yi is not really that great. All of this is nothing more than just fooling Uchiha Obito. Well, now your last resort is to cooperate with me. Not giving Uchiha Obito a chance to think and speak, Gongyi said thoughtfully, Akatsuki has already existed in name only, and there is no one who can help you. And with you, you can catch the tailed beast, but you can't get the tailed beast in my hands. Gongyi smiled unabated, and said as if showing his cards, now I can tell you, the 3 tails, the 4 tails, cubit 9 tails are all in my hands. If you want to complete the next plan, I don't think I need to say more about the importance of the 3-tailed beast. Now with your current ability, I don't think it's possible to do much. Ignoring Uchiha Obito, Gongyi said to himself, if you simply want to use Kabuto, it's not enough. After all, if you don't promise me, Kabuto won't help you either. At the same time, you may also lose the identity of Uchiha Madara, as well as your next plan, and the tailed beast. Gongyi's face was more playful, and there was no hidden threat at all. If you lose your identity as Uchiha Madara, you are just a joke, and without the tail beast, your plan will end. Well, what is waiting for you may be the endless pursuit and killing, as well as the wanted of the entire ninja continent. Damn. As soon as Gongyi finished speaking, Uchiha Obito couldn't help cursing, clenching his fists. Now that he was beaten to death, he never thought that Gongyi would know this level. And you will be threatened unexpectedly. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read and collect. Push the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 playmates, find 99 novels. Chapter 744. Threats and Warnings. Hearing Gongyi's words at the moment, Uchiha Obito fell into passive even more. Gongyi's unreserved threat successfully silenced Uchiha Obito. Behind the Uzumaki-shaped mask, there is an indescribable expression. Gloomy as water, his eyes were full of cold killing intent. But Uchiha Obito held back, he still didn't choose to do it. In this situation at this moment, everything still has a chance to ease. Once you do it yourself, then you will have to fight with the 5 generations of Hokage Gongyi in front of you. And die endlessly. Uchiha Obito is naturally not stupid, he will not put himself in such a dilemma. Now, once they fall out, the only one who suffers is himself. His 5th generation Hokage Gongyi master has his own identity, the master has the purpose of collecting the tailed beasts, and the 3 subsequent tailed beasts are all under his control. No matter how he goes thinking, Uchiha Obito can only be a little embarrassed. But now Uchiha Obito has not given up. How can Uchiha Obito be relieved to cooperate with Gongyi without saying a few words about such a thing? If this is the case, it is impossible for Uchiha Obito to plan the entire ninja continent. Thinking of these, Uchiha Obito snorted coldly, plan to end the endless wanted without Uchiha Madara's identity. Lord Hokage, you are threatening me. Threat. Looking at Uchiha Obito still unwilling to compromise, Gongyi doesn't seem to bother to say more. What do you have to threaten me? What I just said should be called a warning. Based on your ability at the moment, it seems that you can't fight against me at all. Whether it's your Sharingan or Nagato's Rinnegan, it's useless at all. Well, it doesn't matter if you don't agree with me today. Gongyi said that he had turned his body sideways, showing that he was about to leave. However, on his face, the previous smile was no longer there, replaced by a piece of frost. But then, I will help you spread the plan well, and then grab you with my own hands, and finally use the ninja world continent. In the name of a hero, I can still complete my plan. Yes, think about it carefully, it's very convenient. The words were over, Gongyi was already there. Dodge to leave. I don't seem to get any benefit from joining forces with you. At this moment, Uchiha Obito's clenched fists slowly loosened. A rare dignified expression appeared on his face. He finally gave in. Although there is no real agreement, saying this sentence also shows his position. To cooperate is to cooperate. But, it must be mutual benefit. In the end, Uchiha Obito dared to gamble. Well, he couldn't gamble arbitrarily at all. What Gongyi said, although he obviously listened to it, he ignored it. But according to Uchiha Obito, understanding of Gong Yi in front of him, what I just said is not impossible. Therefore, if everything is really done according to what Gong Yi said, then his plan is likely to fail completely. A fifth-generation Hokage Gong Yi alone is enough for Uchiha Obito. If you add the rest of the shadows and the power of the ninja village, according to the current situation, it is not very optimistic. Although he is not afraid of the entire ninja continent, it is enough to make him very uncomfortable with Gong Yi constantly messing around here. As an old classmate, how could you be disadvantaged by joining forces with me? Seeing Uchiha Obito compromise, Gong Yi's face returned to a smile. He turned around, looked at Uchiha Obito and said lightly, 3 tails and 4 tails, I can give them to you. In this way, I don't think I need to say more about your future plan. Basically, it can be considered a success. Gong Yi knew what Uchiha Obito meant. Now, at this moment, is when you use your chips. Tailed beast, the reason why I wanted to capture it before is to use it now. The 3 tails are in Gong Ling's body, so naturally it is impossible to give them all to Uchiha Obito. Gong Yi has obtained a lot of chakras belonging to the 3 tails by using secret techniques before. That case, it's enough to populate Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. As for the 4 tails, Gong Yi also made arrangements. It is this time that it is ready to take the lead in weakening the opportunity of Iwagakure village. Iwagakure village has not been war-torn these years, and has been developing smoothly. Although it is not as good as Konoha village, but Onoki has been in control these years, and the strength is even more unbearable. 5 major ninja villages in the ninja continent, the overall strength of Iwagakure village has become the second only to the existence of Konoha village. This 4th ninja war, although all the villages seem to be doing their best. However, for villages like Iwagakure village and Konoha village, which have deep roots, there should be some reservations. This case, Gong Yi's first step in controlling Uchiha Obito is the matter of the 4 tails. 3 tails and 4 tails. Here, Uchiha Obito's words interrupted Gong Yi's thoughts. Just listen to him ask lightly, then what do you mean by QB, 9 tails? Hehe, what I said was to cooperate with you, not to help you complete your plan. Gong Yi's smile continued, and he said in a deep voice, QB, 9 tails, is up to his own abilities. I won't leave it to you easily. HMPH, as expected of 5 generations of Hokage, I really can't refute anything. Gong Yi's words left Uchiha Obito speechless. Just think about it, the relationship between the two seems more like a transaction. Gong Yi pays the tailed beast to keep the secret, and he needs to do a few things for Gong Yi. Not too bad. Although QB, 9 tails can't get it at the moment, but it's not in a hurry. In Uchiha Obito's mind, thoughts were racing, weighing the pros and cons in front of him. He wants to really resurrect the 10 tails and become the 10 tails people Jinchuriki, column force. Uchiha Obito doesn't think Gong Yi knows. His own plans for the Eye of the Moon were known to be irrelevant. The real plan is to resurrect the 10 tails and become the 10 tails Jinchuriki, column force. At that time, he will have the power to suppress Gong Yi, and the other so-called shadows will not be his opponents at all. Once you get rid of these pesky guys, you will be able to recreate a truly beautiful world. Thinking of this, Uchiha Obito's face returned to a smile. Feeling of letting his master take the initiative again seems very comfortable. As soon as I become a 10 tails Jinchuriki, column force, everything becomes, it seems less important. After returning to his senses, Uchiha Obito smiled and said, in this case, what exactly do you want me to do? Chapter 745. Cooperation with Obito. My request is simple, and you will do the same. Hearing Uchiha Obito ask, Gong Yi didn't talk nonsense either. Now that he has chosen to join forces, he has no reservations. Told Uchiha Obito what he had thought about for a long time. The first thing, I will hold a meeting of the 5 shadows later. And you need to appear in the Five Shadows conference and use the identity of Uchiha Madara to officially announce the opening of the Fourth Ninja World War. Gong Yi paused for a moment, then continued. The second thing, in the Fourth Ninja War that follows, I need your help to weaken the ninja power of the other 4 major ninja villages. Well, in general, it's these 2 things. Smile, Gong Yi shrugged and said, if you think about it carefully, I seem to be at a disadvantage. Well, I really didn't expect it. This, after being silent for half a second, Uchiha Obito smiled. The rest of the ninja village probably wouldn't have thought that the 5 generations of Hokage, the dignified Konoha village, had secretly counted them all. In order to unify, isn't such a thing inevitable? Gong Yi's face didn't change, he just responded lightly. If that's the case, I'd be happy to work with you to accomplish this. This is your best choice. Hearing Uchiha Obito's words, Gong Yi responded with a smile. Then when are you going to hand over the 3 tails and the 4 tails to me? Turning the corner, Uchiha Obito asked. Although it seems that the 2 have cooperated sincerely, in fact, Uchiha Obito is not a child. He doesn't trust the 5 generations of Hokage Gong Yi in front of him at all. Who knows now that he will suddenly play other tricks for himself, and it is true only when he takes the tailed beast into his hand. As a matter of sincerity, I will give you the 4 tails first. Gong Yi pretended to be thinking, he smiled and said, as for Sanwei, just wait until the end of the 5 Shadows meeting. No problem. Uchiha Obito also replied very happily. Gong Yi's words, he was not too surprised. If it were him, he would do the same, and would not hand over all the chips at once. However, in order to prove that we have joined forces for the first time. Waiting for Uchiha Obito to speak again, Gong Yi continued, this time I will give the 4 tails to Iwagakure village. When you want to get the tailed beast, go directly to Iwagakure village to capture it. And what I need you to help me is to weaken the power of the ninjas of Iwagakure village first. Uchiha Obito was speechless. Such a thing made him unexpected and did not seem to have imagined it. Sure enough, I cooperated with Gong Yi, and I didn't have an expected single. The tailed beast to the village of Iwagakure, so that if you want to get the 4 tails, you need to fight against Iwagakure. Once the situation is like this, the village will naturally suffer losses. And because of there will be some loss. In this way, he just paid an insignificant tailed beast, but it killed 2 birds with 1 stone. But even though I think about it now, I can't refuse it at all. Because Gong Yi had already promised to call the tailed beast to himself, but it was not given by himself. Your Excellency Hokage, you are really calculating. Sneer, Uchiha Obito said. I don't mind if you understand it as a calculation. Gong Yi's expression didn't change, he just said lightly, now the people in the ninja continent have the 4 tails of the wind in my hands, so now I will give it directly to you, so I will sell myself equally, I will not do this. Do it. If you don't agree, you can choose not to. He shrugged, showing a look of indifference. Now in this situation, I have been constantly taking the initiative. Uchiha Obito, as long as he wants to complete the plan, he also wants to end it all smoothly. Then, he must obey himself. It seems that I have no choice at all. A hint of helplessness appeared on Uchiha Obito's face, and he said slowly. He was really helpless. Up with Gong Yi made him feel a little powerless. But every time he thought about what happened next to 10 tails, he could feel better. Now, things like this are bearable, and when the 10 tails are resurrected, they will all be the first to die by their own hands. Sake of the tailed beast, Uchiha Obito also rarely chose to be patient. Thinking of this, Uchiha Obito asked, when are you going to hand over the 4 tails to the village of Iwagakure? Hearing this, Gong Yi replied, after I go back, I will contact Tsuchikage in Iwagakure village. But now there are some lack of Akatsuki members on my side. If you want to truly weaken Iwagakure village, the effect may not be very good. Nodding, Uchiha Obito looked at Gongyi and said thoughtfully. You don't have to worry about it. Isn't there Kabuto now? A smile, Gongyi replied as if he had already guessed what Obito was going to say. Kabuto. That's right. That guy is still a little unreliable. Uchiha Obito shrugged and spread his hands. His impure world reincarnation, as far as I know, has quite a few cage-level powerhouses. With a playful expression on Gongyi's face, he continued, using them, not only can you easily grab the tailed beast, but also simply weaken some Iwagakure villages. I see. Uchiha Obito's face was cloudy, but he didn't refute anything. In fact, he couldn't help but scold him. He seemed to understand the 5 generations of Hokage in front of him a little too much. Even though he has only a few subordinates at present, Gongyi is clear about their affairs, but he just thought about it. When Kabuto captured the 4 tails, he met Kabuto once. Well, thinking about it this way, maybe he should have known it at that time, but it doesn't matter. Such a thing could not help reminding Uchiha Obito. Although Kabuto can't threaten Gongyi, it doesn't mean he can't threaten the rest of the ninja village. In the 4th Ninja World War that followed, either I had to fight these. The village is an enemy. It's not a bad thing to weaken them first. Thinking of this, Uchiha Obito looked at Gongyi again. Then I'll leave first, and I'll wait until the 4 tails enter Iwagakure village. Action. Good. Gongyi nodded and didn't try to keep Uchiha Obito. It's rare for old classmates to meet and reminisce about old times. But they don't exist, they just want to expand each other's interests. Chapter 746. The First Strong Village. 2 days later, the Ninja Continent. After Gongyi and Uchiha Obito reached a cooperation, the 4 tails were captured by Gongyi's Konoha village. The other 4 major ninja villages have all begun to learn about this matter. In fact, some people have speculated before that the 4 tails may have been resurrected and taken away. But many people are suspecting that it, like the 8 tails, was secretly captured by Akatsuki. And there are a few people who are also suspecting that it was Hokage Gongyi of Konoha village who caught it. Today, when this news came out, there was also an uproar. Because Konoha village is already strong enough, ninja power, resource development, all have opened a great distance from the rest of the village. Now especially in the entire ninja continent, the rest of the ninja villages have no tailed beasts, but Konoha village still controls Kyubi, 9 tails. Kyubi, 9 tails, is the strongest tailed beast in the entire tailed beast, and it is enough to be feared. Now that Konoha village, which is the strongest, has a lot of people who have won the 4 tails, I am a little bit worried. Human nature is like this, they are all greedy, and they all look down on others. Now the situation in Konoha village makes the rest of the ninja village begin to express their opinions a little bit. Because they worry that once the balance is lost, there may be things that everyone is unwilling to face. Iwagakure village, Tsuchikage office. Now the 4 tails have really been taken away by Konoha village. Onoki looked at Yamazaki Akashi in front of him and asked in disbelief. Yes, Lord Tsuchikage, we have accurate information to prove it. Aka Yamazaki nodded, looked at Tsuchikage, who had become a little old man sitting in front of him, and replied, 4 tails are not rumors in Konoha village, but true. I've met the spy in Konoha before, and I'm pretty sure. With an extremely solemn and serious face, Yamazaki spoke in red. Well, he is a ninja with a high voice in Iwagakure at the moment, and his strength is also the target pursued by all ninjas in Iwagakure village at this moment. At the same time, he is also Gongyi's avatar of consciousness, and also the strongest undercover agent Gongyi placed in Iwagakure. Today's avatar of consciousness has completely reached the core high-level position of Iwagakure village. He also learned a lot of many secret things one after another. It can be seen from today's time that Tsuchikajinoki was able to let his divine consciousness do it, which is enough to prove how much he values him. Years of camouflage, and the show of strength, made Onoki trust him more and more. Just after Gong Yi came back from Uchiha Obito's side, he had already given him the news. Let him say and confirm that there are 4 tails in Konoha village. All of this was a plan that Gong Yi had planned. Wanting to give the 4 tails to Iwagakure justifiably, I naturally took the initiative. First, I took the initiative, which is not a good thing for the reputation of the village and my own prestige. This will make people mistakenly think that Konoha village is afraid of Iwagakure village, so Gong Yi will not do it if he wants to use the tailed beast to show his favor. Konoha village is already the #1 village, and it doesn't need to bow its head like anyone else. And the second, and the most important one. If I took the initiative to give the tailed beast to the village of Iwagakure without any trouble, Akatsuki at Uchiha Obito's place would immediately to take away. At the same time, the village of Iwagakure was destroyed. It's all about shifting the target to your own face. By some conscientious people, their cooperation with Uchiha Obito will definitely be made up by them. So now Gong Yi has decided a long time ago to play a hard-to-find game. Only let Iwagakure village take the bait. In fact, this is the best choice. At that time, he can also use the return of the tailed beast as a price to extort some supplies. Well, the same routine, the same feeling, just a different village. Uchiha Obito has actually thought wrong before. He is killing 3 birds with 1 stone, not 2 birds with 1 stone. No, it can also be called 4 birds with 1 stone. Because when Iwagakure's 4 tails are lost again, the ninja power is also weakened. You can also go to the daimyo, and in his name, officially start to convene the rest of the daimyo for a meeting. Then, with the help of Uchiha Obito, a new round of 5 Shadows conference was officially opened. In this way, all the plans after that are also linked, and you can also carry out your own final steps. Everything is ready, only the east wind is owed. At the same time, hearing Yamazaki Akaki's words, Onoki's face was gloomy, and his thoughts appeared. Gong Yi's real plan, of course, he didn't know, and he couldn't think of it either. This will work, as Gong Yi expected. Onoki is moving towards the next thing. He was really tempted, and wanted to go back to the 4-tailed Son Goku in Konoha village. As the strongest force to frighten the ninja village, it is impossible to say that Onoki is indifferent. Instead, he was desperately wanted by any ninja village to get the 4-tailed Monkey King. 4-tailed Sun Wukong is originally the tailed beast of their Iwagakure village. Laozi, a Jinchuriki column force of the 4-tailed Sun Wukong, is also a ninja of Iwagakure village. Put it bluntly, it should belong to its own Iwagakure village. If Laozi hadn't left, he would have died in the end. It's impossible for the 4 tails, and now Kabuto turns around and changes into the hands of Konoha village. Tsuchikage, now Konoha village has 2-tailed beasts. Looking at Onoki's gloomy face, the avatar of consciousness seemed to say with guidance, I think we should ask the 4 tails back. The 4 tails were originally from Iwagakure village, and they really shouldn't stay in their Konoha village now. Putting his hand on his chin, Onoki didn't know what to think. However, after speaking of the avatar of the consciousness, he actually has confirmed his thoughts. Send messengers to negotiate with Konoha village about the 4 tails Monkey King. The 5 tails in my current village have been captured by the hateful Akatsuki. Although they didn't suffer much loss, losing the tailed beast was extremely uncomfortable after all. If you can get the 4-tailed Monkey King back, maybe the development of their Iwagakure will be much better. This way, the missing loophole of the 5 tails is virtually filled. Akatsuki's current leader has been killed by Gong Yi. From a normal point of view, the entire Akatsuki is now dead in name only. So the tailed beast is now in disguise. Maybe it will be a little safer. Akatsuki probably won't act in time. Furthermore, Onoki was not afraid of Akatsuki. He had never seen Akatsuki before. So he thought that Akatsuki, perhaps, was afraid to set foot in his Iwagakure village lightly. Chapter 747. The Actions of Iwagakure Village. Yamazaki, what are your thoughts now? Onoki regained his senses in his thoughts, and asked Takashi Yamazaki again. I think it should be resolved in a peaceful way, and should not go to war with Konoha village. After thinking for a while, Yamazaki Akashi chose a very conservative answer. Well, that's what I think too. Although it was the same as not saying, Onoki nodded. Konoha village is developing strongly, we have absolutely no advantage over it. Especially the 5th generation Hokage, he's not a bad guy. When Onoki mentioned Gongyi, his expression changed a bit. He is also very strong now. If we try to provoke it, it will only make us passive. I don't think it's better that we send a mission to discuss with him. Yamazaki Akashi agreed with Onoki, saying, using the resources we currently have, we can exchange tailed beasts. Waiting for Onoki to speak again, Gongyi's divine avatar, Yamazaki Akashi continued. After all, Hokage of Konoha village is very arrogant. He doesn't think the tailed beast is of any use, and it is estimated that the reason why he has captured the 4 tails is for the sake of go in exchange for resources. Konoha village is currently developing strong and consumes a lot of resources. I think he will agree to our deal. Furthermore, since the 5th Hokage has the power to suppress the tailed beast, the 4 tails are not important to him at all. After careful analysis, according to what Gongyi explained to him before, he basically said it along the way. You're right. Moment of contemplation, Onoki nodded and replied, the best way now is indeed this. But this is our tailed beast, and it's really a bit uncomfortable to actually give them resources. Tightly, Onoki also fell into a tangled state. If he wants to get the tailed beast now, then naturally he has to pay a price. This price will definitely not be an ordinary price, and he is naturally a little troubled. According to Onoki's idea, he just wants to take back the 4-tailed Monkey King by himself. But when he thought about Gongyi's 5th-generation Hokage character, Onoki knew it was the most naive idea. He wouldn't agree with this statement of his Iwagakure village at all, and if he didn't fix it, he would have a deadlock relationship with. Although the relationship is not much better at the moment, but once there is a stalemate, I am afraid that the 4 tails will not be able to be obtained by myself no matter what. Lord Tsuchikage, you'd better think about it carefully. Yamazaki Akaji's face was expressionless, and he continued to speak. If we don't act first and let the rest of the ninja village take the lead, this is not a loss of resources. Starting to press Onoki a little, Yamazaki Akashi kept talking here. Just wait and see for a few days. You secretly spread some news to Konoha village and see their reaction. Thinking for a long time, Onoki said, then we try to get the 4 tails back at a very low price. Onoki is still Onoki, scheming. Having lived in Tsuchikage for decades, he is also a very cunning old fox. At this time, he is naturally thinking of self-interest. If he was directly asked to use the supplies to get the tailed beast back, he would still be a little uncomfortable. So, he is still trying to use opportunistic methods here. I understand Tsuchikage-sama. Yamazaki Aka nodded and didn't say anything more. Seeing that Onoki nodded silently, he immediately flashed away. Following Onoki's side, the consciousness clone is naturally careful everywhere. Once something is exposed, it can make a lot of things fall apart. Therefore, the avatar of consciousness seldom speaks, and rarely does too much advice. In this way, Onoki couldn't find any flaws, and he trusted him even more. This is the situation, and now there is no more suggestion for the avatar of the consciousness. Under such a rhythm, the avatar of the consciousness knew, and Gongyi also explained it. Everything can be clicked. Onoki will naturally weigh the pros and cons in it. Gongyi actually knows that this time Onoki will never watch the tail beast slip away. The village of Iwagakure is currently developing very well, and without the tail beast, Onoki would definitely consider it a huge shortcoming. Therefore, he will never give up easily. Konoha Village. Lord Hokage, Things may be going bad. With a gloomy face, Nara Shikaku entered Hokage's office with a document. What's wrong? Hearing Nara Shikaku's voice, Gongyi looked up at him and asked. The fact that you took the four tails back to Konoha village has already been rumored. Nara Shikaku handed the document in his hand to Gongyi, and he said in a deep voice, I don't know what's going on, everyone in the ninja world knows it. Haha, was it spread out? After simply flipping through 2 pages of the document, Gongyi smiled lightly. There was nothing ugly on his face, but he was as calm as ever. He let Kimimaro spread the news. At the same time, it is just to attract the village of Iwagakure. To put it bluntly, everything is for planning, but also to promote the progress of things in the future. But these words, Gongyi is now not talking to Nara Shikaku first. Things may not be very good, and in that case, we will be passive. Still, Nara Shikaku, who doesn't know anything, analyzes it carefully. At this time, he fully played the role of a Hokage think tank. It will indeed be passive. After all, we have mastered the last 2-tailed beasts in the entire ninja continent. Closing the document, Gongyi nodded, agreeing to what Nara Shikaku said. However, at this moment, before Nara Shikaku could speak, Gongyi continued, our Konoha village is not afraid of any one person, nor any one village, and it is possible that they will cause a war. Right now, apart from Iwagakure village, the rest of the ninja villages can't protect themselves, and war is absolutely impossible. Shaking his head, Nara Shikaku said without veto, with their words, it is not easy to do anything with us now. So there's nothing to worry about right now. Shrugging his shoulders and showing a smile, Gongyi said, the 4 tails thing leaked out, and it's nothing, just let it go. But Shikaku-sensei doesn't need to worry about that. Interrupting Nara Shikaku, Gongyi knocked on the table, 4 tails have no meaning to us. In turn, if we can get some resources, it is actually not bad. Nara Shikaku looked at Gongyi for a while. Chapter 748. Weakness is the original sin. The crazy idea of exchanging 4 tails for resources, I am afraid that only the 5 generations of Hokage in front of me can think of. No ninja village on the entire continent would be able to say such a thing. Since Senju Hashirama was distributed to each ninja village tailed beast, they have been the strength of each other's ninja village to contain each other. Its location also symbolizes the power of a ninja village. The role of the tail beast is a symbol and a shock to the ninja village. Now Gongyi doesn't have them at all. Treat them as one and the same thing. But in fact, if you think about it, you can fully understand it. Because Gongyi is already strong enough, there is no need for a tailed beast to prove anything. Kill the 8 tails with 1 sword. Suppress the 6 tails at will. Catch 4 tails easily. Tailed beast, for the man in front of him, seems to have no threat or use at all. Yes. Perhaps their last function is to obtain resources and then improve the entire Konoha village. Now Nara Shikaku has a lot of thoughts in his mind, and he can't help but think a lot here. Silence for a moment. Nara Shikaku came back to his senses, seemed to sigh softly, and shook his head and said, anyway. That's right, then I'll just follow you, Lord Hokage. Well, now anyway, it has been leaked out, so just wait and see how it gets better. Gongyi nodded and smiled, and said lightly, actually, through this matter, Shikaku-sensei, you should go and investigate the spies in the village. This kind of thing has already been leaked out, so the level of this outer village spy is definitely not low. Gongyi looked up at Nara Shikaku and said lightly, shifting his gaze to another location. Of sending out the 4 tails is nothing more than a deal with Uchiha Obito. So he doesn't need Nara Shikaku, he cares too much about such things. I'm already investigating, and now this spy must not be appeased. Nara Shikaku's face was serious, and the whole person said in a deep voice, as we develop and become stronger, the number of spies in each village is also increasing. Under great power, these spies are nothing but clowns, no need to worry. Gong Yi didn't show any resentment on his face, he just murmured lightly. At the current state of Gong Yi, in fact, there is nothing that needs him to fight. As the power gradually became stronger, these people were not worth caring about to him. As a giant, why should you care about the current Gong Yi and the people in the ninja world? They are completely two-level existences. So no matter what they do, it won't affect me at all. All Gong Yi needs to care about at the moment is just follow his own plan and implement it normally. Well, now the rest of the ninjas. Indeed, the strength is not enough to fear. Nara Shikaku nodded and couldn't help but agree. It's true that they can't affect us alone. So Shikaku, sensei, these jumping beams need to be found one by one, and then solved. Opening another document on the table, Gong Yi said with a smile. Okay, I'll do it now. Originally, I wanted to come here and go to Gong Yi to discuss what should be done next. But when Nara Shikaku looked at it like this, he didn't seem to need it at all. Because after finishing speaking through Gong Yi, he felt, all of this seems really unnecessary. Today's Konoha village is no longer what it used to be, so there is nothing to be afraid of. Today's ninja power, as well as the overall comprehensive strength, Nara Shikaku still knows. Konoha village has enough proud capital. Thinking of this, Nara Shikaku can't help but admire Gong Yi secretly. The previously decayed village of Konoha seems to be reborn because of his appointment. No, it should be called transformation. The original Konoha village, although it is also known as the largest ninja village in the ninja world. However, in fact, it is still held back by the major ninja villages. At that time, Konoha village was strong, but one village could not fight against many villages. Such a delicate balance makes Konoha village not very comfortable. Because it can't really develop effectively, and it checks and balances each other. Sarutobi Hiruzen, when Namikaze Minato was in power, though also wanted to develop. Pity that after all, there is no such courage as Gong Yi, so I can only have regrets in my heart. Well, now it's different. Konoha village is no longer an existence that can be threatened and restrained by the outer village. It has risen completely. Nara Shikaku actually felt a little excitement in his heart, as well as the pride of being a Konoha village ninja. Able to be in Konoha village has long been a blessing for everyone and every ninja in their lives. The night is very quiet. The time of the day flies by in a blink of an eye. After briefly checking Sasuke's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and briefly pointing at Naruto for a while, Gong Yi returned to the palace. He came into the house at this moment. Gong Yi just saw the little black snake coming with a snake letter. Not long after the bang, the little black snake turned into a white mist and disappeared in front of it. There was a hint of enlightenment on Gong Yi's face, and he murmured, "Is there any news from the avatar of the consciousness?" With a hint of a smile, Gong Yi disappeared immediately. The technique of Hiraishin is activated. By the time he reappears, he has already left the palace. After a few dodges, he was already standing at the border of the Fire Nation. Ahead is the land of grass, which links the land of earth and the land of fire. As the buffer zone of the two major powers, they are naturally not strong. Small capitals and small ninja villages are all standard for passers-by. Their current existence can only be called a battlefield. When I see this, I can't help but think of the tragedy of Yahiko Nagato Konan 3. This is the sadness of a small country, and this is also the sadness of the weak. If a country is not strong, it will be reduced to the battlefield of a strong country. Strength is not strong, it will be reduced to cannon fodder in the war. Weakness is the original sin. This is also the reason why Gong Yi has not been easily neglected even though he has reached the current level of power. As long as you are not strong, it is very likely that you will be killed. Ninja World continent is like this, there is no fairness at all. When he came here, Gong Yi was clearly aware of it. Ninja continent, Just look at the power to speak. It is far from the harmony and happiness in the anime that Gong Yi saw in his previous life. 4. A weak existence, the ninja continent, but an unimaginable darkness. Please download Fei Lu Shao Kan's latest chapter. Baidu search 99 Playmate find 99 Novel Network and LT collection. Please keep this paragraph, otherwise you will be banned from collecting IP. Chapter 749. Country of Grass. In a barren and hidden jungle. With the help of the moonlight above, you can vaguely see a person standing in this jungle. He was wearing a black combat uniform, and his face was very handsome. Man is Gong Yi. After Gong Yi got the news of the avatar of the consciousness, he immediately came here. Things have been progressing very quickly, and Gong Yi is not procrastinating. Iwagakure village's problem with the tailed beasts is resolved. Gong Yi will immediately. I will communicate with the famous name of the country of fire and start the Five Shadows Conference. In this way, things in Iwagakure village need to go faster now. There is nothing that needs to be done slowly, there must be progress made faster. Swish! A dark shadow dazzled, and the speed was extremely fast. The moment he appeared, it was immediately kneeling halfway in front of Gong Yi. Master. Avatar of Consciousness also came over from the village of Iwagakure, and he looked at Gong Yi with respect on his face at the moment. How are things going? Seeing the appearance of the consciousness clone, Gong Yi asked lightly. As a puppet created by himself using the seeds of divine consciousness, Gong Yi doesn't have much politeness. His life is given by himself, and such respect is deserved. Moreover, now to put it bluntly, he and himself are completely one existence. Now the Tsuchikage side has shaken. Consciousness clone stood up and looked at Gong Yi, and said in a deep voice, he wanted to wait and see before, but later, according to the master's words, I secretly put pressure on him. At the same time, this afternoon, you spread the news that the rest of the ninja village is ready to move, and the news that you want to get the Four Tails has been known to Tsuchikage. The consciousness clone continued carefully. Not long ago, Tsuchikage has notified me to send a team of messengers to officially enter Konoha village to discuss the issue of the Four Tails with you. Hehe, this Onoki moves so fast. Hearing the divine consciousness clone finish saying this, a smile appeared on Gong Yi's face. Although it was Gong Yi, he didn't think that Onoki would make a decision just after the news spread for a few days. Originally, due to Onoki's cautious and suspicious character and unwilling to suffer losses, Gong Yi felt that he would have to think about it for a few more days. After weighing the pros and cons, this will carefully consider the next thing. But this time, Onoki was so happy that he didn't wait at all. If it weren't for the news of the divine consciousness clone, I wouldn't believe it. After all, Onoki has been in Tsuchikage's position for several years, and he is not a little old man for ordinary people. It must be because of a series of things such as the gods, clone being in the way, the loss of their five tails, and the severe situation in the ninja continent. Onoki reckoned that this bit Kiba. I want to use resources to recycle the four-tailed Monkey King. Otherwise, according to Onoki's character, Gong Yi would not believe that he would be like this. He is indeed a little anxious. The consciousness clone nodded and continued. After the five tails were captured by Akatsuki for a week, Tsuchikage has been brooding about the bosom-tailed beast. Now that I can finally see that the four tails have a chance to get it, it is estimated that this Tsuchikage should not want to wait. After careful analysis, the consciousness clone looked at Gong Yi. In addition to the news that you keep spreading, Master, Tsuchikage was afraid that the rest of the ninja village would take the lead, so he did it immediately. Order was given. That's fine too. Gong Yi smiled and said lightly, now Onoki can quickly take the tailed beast, so that we can continue to execute our next plan quickly. I've made all the secret arrangements for Iwagakure village. Avatar's face was serious, and there was no nonsense in the whole person. As long as Akatsuki arrives, Iwagakure village will definitely lose a huge part. Yes, although the power of Iwagakure village is not as good as that of Konoha, it is still a big threat. With satisfaction on his face, Gongyi said with a smile, although the fourth ninja war in the later period will weaken a lot of their ninja power, it is not enough. With this tail beast as an introduction, it is just right for them to lose first. Say it again. Well, Master, your plan is really perfect. Speaking of these, the Divine Consciousness Avatar couldn't help but praise. For everything in the future, it is natural to be cautious. Gongyi twitched the corners of his mouth, and there was always a smile on his face. As his avatar, he is the most trustworthy. My plan needs to be promoted by the avatar of my consciousness, so naturally I didn't hide it from him. As for the follow-up plan, Gongyi didn't say anything, and it will be gradually improved after preparation. However, here in Iwagakure village, it is necessary for the Divine Consciousness clone to come and go to the Master. After all, with his current identity, there is no way to appear in Iwagakure village. But the avatar of consciousness is different. He is Anbu, who has completely mastered the village of Iwagakure, and Onoki has been very at ease with him. At the same time, using his status now, he can consume some of the ninja power of the whole Iwagakure village. Resist Uchiha Obito to take away the tail beast, and a large number of ninja forces are used to block it. Well, how to think about it, this is absolutely nothing wrong. After all, he is Onoki, but he needs to consume a certain amount of resources before Gongyi can return the tailed beast to him. Although he gave the four-tailed Monkey King to Uchiha Obito for the plan, he would not really suffer. Except, with the help of Uchiha Obito's hand, I was the first to consume the ninja power of Iwagakure village. Now he is just using the four tails to extort a lot of money from the upper Iwagakure village. Right now, Konoha village is booming, even though there are materials from Sunagakure village and materials from Kurigakure village. But it's a bit unbelievable, this is actually not enough for the Konoha village at the moment. Gongyi's methods are terrifying, and what he calls development is basically rebuilding the village of Konoha. Even the back mountain at the moment has been developed, and towering buildings have been built. Today's scene is really a bit similar to the scene in Naruto's blog in the next few decades. No, it should be taller than that time, and even more expansive. Gongyi's development of Konoha at the moment is far ahead of the ninja village in the ninja world for decades. Well, this has been removed. Relying on the experience retained in Gongyi's mind in his previous life, that is, the constant input of materials. In fact, this is the case, so now Gongyi is still trying to find supplies as much as possible. After all, if you don't want it for nothing, Gongyi will not refuse. Especially now, when there are still some shortages, this is even more so. Chapter 750, Resource Chips. Lord Hokage, there's a message from Iwagakure village. The next morning, Nara Shikaku came to Hokage's office. What's the news? Gongyi pretended to be completely ignorant at this moment and looked at Nara Shikaku. He had already returned to Konoha village after a brief communication with the Divine Consciousness clone last night. Now, seeing Nara Shikaku coming in here undoubtedly confirms the news of yesterday's avatar of consciousness. Now they are going to send an envoy to discuss with you, Lord Hokage, about the four tails. Sure enough. Hearing Nara Shikaku finish, Gongyi couldn't help but secretly said, "Send an embassy to discuss the matter of the four tails." Next second, Gongyi's face showed contemplation. Although he knew it in his heart now, he didn't show it very clearly. At this moment, Nara Shikaku didn't notice at all, but nodded solemnly and replied, "Now that the news has spread to the entire ninja continent, it is estimated that the village of Iwagakure, who was the original Master Four Tails, can't bear it anymore." "It's okay." Gongyi shrugged, put down the pen in his hand, and said with a smile, "Since they sent a mission and nothing else, it also shows that their Iwagakure village seems to want to resolve this matter in a peaceful way. Well, now if they can give some resources, it doesn't matter if the four tails are returned to them. At this moment, it is justifiable, Gong Yi said all the next arrangements. Now the four tails must be handed over to the village of Iwagakure, and I don't want to be left alone. It is useless except to promote the plan for itself in exchange for a lot of resources. Now I can clearly understand that my power has reached this level, and the tailed beast has not helped me at all. The tailed beast is a kind of tyrannical and shocking weapon for the ninja village of the entire ninja continent. But for Gong Yi, that's not the case, it should just be called resource chips. Well, if everything goes well, it is indeed a good choice. Nara Shikaku nodded and put down the document in his hand. In the village of Iwagakure, I think I should choose to compromise and not deal with this matter head-on. There was no difference in his face now, but it was still very plain. Nara Shikaku once talked to Gong Yi about the four tails before. Gong Yi had given Nara Shikaku a vaccination for a long time, and wanted to use the tailed beast to trade resources. So, now hearing Gong Yi say this, Nara Shikaku was not surprised, but was thinking about the next thing here. That is how to maximize the benefits of the current tailed beasts and ask for resources from Iwagakure village. World is intriguing, the ninjas are constantly confronting each other in the open and secret, and looking at each other is not pleasing to the eye. Now in the current situation, Nara Shikaku people, he will naturally choose to let Konoha village get more benefits. Especially now that he is at the core of Konoha village, the think tank of Hokage, and now he needs to play a bigger role in this situation. Looking at Nara Shikaku's appearance, Gong Yi revealed something unexpected. If Nara Shikaku didn't think about Konoha, he was still worried about the situation of Iwagakure village, which would be surprising enough. Now in such a situation, you can actually see that Nara Shikaku has been able to help himself to complete these. Thinking about it for a while, Gong Yi looked at Nara Shikaku and said, now the affairs of the Iwagakure village mission will be handed over to Mr. Shikaku, and the follow-up resource request will be based on your ideas. Don't worry, Hokage-sama, I'll prepare first. Nara Shikaku nodded, but did not deny it. Before many such similar things, Gong Yi also let Nara Shikaku do it. As a Hokage, it's not. Big and small matters are all up to you. Especially with the passage of time, the position of Hokage is more highly weighted. A small negotiating mission from the village of Iwagakure, who showed up to meet them in person. Obviously, things like this don't fit Gong Yi's current identity. There is nothing wrong with Gong Yi leaving Nara Shikaku to handle such a problem at this moment. The problem of resources is small, and now Gong Yi's main goal is to hand over the four tails to the village of Iwagakure smoothly. This is how the next plan can continue. Otherwise, it would be useless to keep four tails here. It doesn't bring anything to itself. Shocking and frightening the production resources of the outer villages, it is obvious that the four tails cannot occupy any of these 2 points. Not long. When Nara Shikaku left, the negotiating delegation from Iwagakure village arrived at Konoha village in the afternoon. They are extremely efficient and there is no delay at all. After sending the news with the ninja pigeon in the morning, I set off immediately. Of Earth and the land of fire seem to be very close, it still takes a few days to travel on a regular basis. However, Onoki already had an order, and the negotiating mission did not delay. They were non-stop, basically it took nearly a day, and they finally entered the village of Konoha. Central Administration Building, the conference room of Nova University. After being arranged here by the leading ninja, a group of negotiating Iwagakure village ninja delegation rested for a while. No one showed any negative expressions. Gong Yi has been famous for a long time in the entire ninja continent. What kind of character he is probably, there are still people out there who don't know this. Hokage is notoriously moody, and he can't be provoked at all. Of the various ninja villages were all afraid of him, and even the leader of Akatsuki was killed by him. Now in the entire ninja continent, if you think about it carefully, it seems that there is no such thing that the 5 generations of Hokage in Konoha village dare not do. Also, before they came, they were told by Tsuchikajinoki not to provoke Konoha village. Because their goal today is the tailed beast. If there is a problem, then the tailed beast will die prematurely. This is not allowed by Onoki, they all know it in their hearts. Even if the Konoha village goes too far today, a group of people in the Iwagakure village don't dare to say anything more. Of course, now Konoha village, not to mention, is also a regular reception, and they have not neglected them. Crunch. At this moment, the front door was pushed open, and Nara Shikaku walked in with a document. Everyone, I will replace Lord Hokage this time and discuss with you about the ownership of the tailed beast. I don't think you have any opinions. Nara Shikaku smiled and looked at the group of people in front of her. Chapter 751. Iwagakure Negotiating Mission. I don't mind, of course I don't mind. Seeing Nara Shikaku walk in and finish speaking, an old Jonin man headed by the negotiating mission smiled and replied. Joke, now they dare to say how they disagree. It is estimated that with their knowledge of Konoha village, the moment they say they disagree, they will be invited out. If it was because of them that the tailed beast thing was broken, then no one would return to Iwagakure village with the slightest face. At the same time, it also failed Onoki's trust in them. Assigned this time are senior fellows with high power in the Iwagakure village. They have the right to decide. For example, the allocation of resources, and all kinds of etc. A series of full force, they can all decide on their own. So now their city government is very deep, their faces are all smiling, and there is no displeasure at all. Hee, if you don't mind, it will be easy. The smile on Nara Shikaku's face did not diminish, and he sat directly in front of him. Now about the question of the 4 tails, I have clearly understood your thoughts. Nara Shikaku said, and opened the document in his hand directly. It is not impossible for your village to take the 4 tails away. Hearing Nara Shikaku's words, the Iwagakure village ninja who was in charge of the negotiating mission was also stunned. None of them thought that Konoha village would easily agree to let them take back the 4 tails, which is completely different from what they thought before. Originally, a group of people thought that they would waste half a day of speech and use various routines to get Konoha village to agree. But this time, they found that the words they had prepared before seemed to be completely useless. Because of Nara Shikaku in front of him, he actually stated their purpose straight to the point. Retrieving the tailed beast is indeed the main thing, Master Tsuchikage explained. Iwagakure Jonin, who was in the lead, smiled and said, I don't know how Lord Hokage wants to return the tailed beast now. Since they were sent, they were naturally not fools. Now if they want to take back the tailed beast without paying at all, they don't dare to delusion, because this is simply impossible. With the character of the 5 generations of Hokage, if the tailed beast is given to them for no reason, it will make people more careful. Because there is no benefit to the transaction, there are definitely some risks they can't see. In this way, they are also waiting for the next request from Konoha village. 4-tailed is a tailed beast, it is naturally very difficult to capture. Nara Shikaku was not polite and said with a smile, it took us a lot of trouble to catch it in the 5th generation of Hokage, so which tailed beast you want? Naturally our Konoha village needs some resources. All Iwagakure village negotiating mission. Everyone immediately speechless. Hearing Nara Shikaku's shameless remarks, they all held back and wanted to speak out. As a tailed beast, the 4-tailed animal naturally took a lot of trouble to catch it on behalf of Hokage. They now have endless resentment for these 2 sentences. The power of the 5 generations of Hokage, the old guys in the high-level positions of the Iwagakure village, they see and understand it. 8 tails at the beginning, and the 6 tails who easily suppressed the Kurigakure village, as well as all kinds of other deeds, are still vivid in my mind. Now a 4-tailed may be a threat to them. But for the 5 generations of Hokage Gongyi in Konoha village, there is no difficulty at all. You just think about it, you can guess that the Nara Shikaku in front of you is just fooling them. But although they knew it clearly in their hearts, they could only laugh and wait for Nara Shikaku to continue talking. Well, so if you think there is no problem, we will continue to discuss the next step. Hee hee, of course there's no problem with that. Of Iwagakure Janan's mouth twitched. He looked at Nara Shikaku and said, your village is looking for and captured the tailed beast on our behalf. We will naturally agree to such a deal. If that's the case, it's basically a very good conversation. The smile on Nara Shikaku's face grew wider, and he nodded. Our request from Konoha village is very simple, that is, need. At the document in his hand, 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages. The Iwagakure village ninjas of the negotiating missions before, gradually resisted and did not change their expressions. Although Nara Shikaku doesn't have a lion's mouth, it is also a disguised form of biting down on their Iwagakure village. And tea hurt the muscles, but it hurts a bit. Everyone, what do you think? Closing the document, Nara Shikaku asked them without changing his face. And this time, from the negotiating mission in Iwagakure village on the opposite side were silent. They looked at each other and communicated simply and softly. A long time, the old Iwagakure Janan, who was headed by him, had already made a decision on his face. Next second, he looked at Nara Shikaku and said, okay, we agree. ... Night, quiet Shisui. It was already late at night in Konoha village, and it was even more quiet. As only an empty street around except for the creatures that come out at night. As expected of Shikaku-sensei, this transaction is still very profitable. Sitting in Hokage's office, Gongyi closed the document with a smile on his face. Recorded in the document that it was the resources that came from the four-tailed transaction this time. These, the same big trails that Gongyi had thought before, not too much of a difference. To be said that now Nara Shikaku has completely inherited his tradition. With Nara Shikaku by his side right now, it would be impossible if he wasn't deeply affected. Judging from these several things, Gongyi is still very satisfied with the things Nara Shikaku has done. Four tails gave out, and the plan has been carried out smoothly for a long time. The way, I also took a bite of Iwagakure village and got such a big piece of fat. Either way, it's enough to make Gongyi in a good mood now. Senses, Gongyi looked at Nara Shikaku. This time, after we get the resources of Iwagakure village, the construction of the whole village will grow even more. Well, it's all thanks to you, Lord Hokage. Instead of being complacent, Nara Shikaku put the entire credit on Gongyi. After all, he is only in charge of negotiation, and everything is executed by Gongyi. He moved his lips. There was a real gun and a real knife compared to Gongyi, so now he also looked at Gongyi with respect, and there was no other emotion on his face. Chapter 752. The Hatred of the Ninja. 2 days later. At this moment in Konoha village, there are already quite a few Konoha village ninjas. They looked around and the front was looking forward. Were hundreds of ninjas from the village of Iwagakure. Basically most of them are wearing normal ninja costumes. The dozens of people headed by them are wearing special uniforms, and they also have strange patterns painted on their faces. On everyone, the fluctuation of chakra is also extremely tyrannical. It is an elite Anbu special unit in Iwagakure village. All Konoha village ninjas are strictly guarded here. Although each ninja village is currently not at war, they are also guarding each other. Even ordinary ninjas from the outer village need to be strictly controlled when they enter Konoha village individually. Not to mention today, there are hundreds of ninjas. A group of ninjas from the village of Iwagakure. Looking around, the ninjas from the village of Konoha have completely surrounded them. There are still many Anbu ninjas standing on the eaves, and there is a chill in the eyes through the mask. Obviously, if they had the slightest bit of other action, they would immediately. Sanctions are here. However, the ninjas in Iwagakure village didn't care. They didn't come here to fight the Konoha village, nor to find fault. After the team of messengers in charge of the negotiation returned, they came here to prepare to take the four tails of Konoha village. At the same time, it was also delivered, and the promised resources were originally promised. Well, such a big fight is enough to see that Onoki still attaches great importance to the four tails. At this moment, in the central administration building, Yamazaki Akaki came here in person. This time, the one responsible for leading hundreds of Iwagakure village ninjas and escorting the tailed beast back to Iwagakure village is he. As one of the most powerful ninjas in Iwagakure village, Onoki trusts him very much. Therefore, this very important task was entrusted to him. At this moment, as Hokage, Gangyi has personally come forward and handed over the scroll containing the tailed beast to him. This is a special scroll with a yuhi-colored seal written on it. Word. Around the font, there are many dense small runes. Lord Hokage, what's in here is four tails. At this moment, Yamazaki Akashi, who was a clone of divine consciousness, pretended to be surprised even though he clearly understood in his heart. The several elite Anbu members who followed him also frowned. That shocked the ninja continent. They have never heard of it, and they have never seen it now that it is sealed in the scroll. Originally, for a group of people, they thought they were one person. Hehe, this is a new type of ninja tool developed by me using the special ninjutsu collection scroll technology. A smile, Gangyi wasn't unhappy about Yamazaki Akashi's doubts. He spoke lightly, and in fact, in order to dispel the concerns of the group of guys behind the consciousness clone, he continued to say, now its function is to load tailed beasts and seal them. I think a tailed beast like this will make you feel more at ease. Gangyi didn't have too many emotions, just jokingly said, I am now handing over the power of the Jinchuriki column people in my village to you. With Tsuchikage, I may be more worried. Of course, if you don't believe it, I can unseal its seal, and then you can recycle it. There is no need for Lord Hokage, we naturally believe in your village and you. Yamazaki Akachi would go down the stairs when he saw it, no nonsense. That the two sang together made the elite Anbu members of Iwagakure village behind them also nod their heads. Gangyi has been in the world for so many years, and his character is naturally guaranteed. There is no doubt about this, it is indeed worthy of everyone's trust. Especially at his level of power, that ignorant deception and lies will only make him look ashamed. So no one really doubted anything, or felt that Gangyi was fooling them. Besides, now that it's time to go, I heard Gangyi just said. I want to release the seal of the tailed beast, and then let me and others recover it. Think of this topic, their expressions are also a little unnatural. If they can really have the power to suppress the tailed beast, they will not waste resources and take the tailed beast away. Now obviously, they don't have the strength to seal the tailed beast at all. If this is because of them, they annoyed the fifth generation of Hokage at this juncture, but it is quite not worth it. Therefore, under the circumstances so far, a group of Anbu elite ninjas headed by Yamazaki Akashi did not say any nonsense. Well, since that's the case, the four tails will be handed over to you. Gangyi didn't talk nonsense either, smiled and nodded and looked at Yamazaki Akashi and the others. Okay Lord Hokage, then we will stay for a while and leave now. It's a long way, and I bring a tailed beast, I won't leave you. Well, Lord Hokage, let's say goodbye. Yamazaki aka put away the reel with four tails, and immediately he walked away with the rest. Not long. Hundreds of Iwagakure village ninjas who were in Konoha village just now also left here in a mighty manner. They didn't cause trouble, nothing else happened. Cut, this is gone. A Konoha village chunin standing in the dark, his face showed disappointment and a little unhappy. HMPH, count them as acquaintances. Another ninja standing next to this chunin took back his hand and snorted coldly. Sounds like this appeared one after another in the entire Konoha village of Nuoda. Because of Gangyi's special cultivation. Now the ninjas in the whole Konoha village are very hostile to the ninjas in other villages. He would never use some kind of chicken soup to soothe these ninja of Konoha village. In turn, he would often secretly allow Kimimaro to create hatred, spreading it among the ninjas in Konoha village. Now such an invisible long-term brainwashing, the Konoha village ninjas have long lost the slightest affection for Suzumura. All of this is in preparation for the unification of the ninja world continent in the future. It has been implemented as early as a few years ago, and now there are rare effects. Today, if Gangyi wants to get rid of the other 4 major ninja villages, then these Konoha village ninjas will definitely support him. Not like when Sarutobi Hiruzen was in power, he was unwilling to start a war and maintained all kinds of things. Unconsciously, the subtle influence has completely changed the ninjas of Konoha village. Standing in front of Nuota's floor-to-ceiling windows, Gangyi looked down at the central street in the heart of Konoha village, and a smile appeared on his handsome face. Chapter 753. Powerful Intelligence System. It was night, thick as black ink. There is a cave in the jungle on the border of the ninja continent. It is very hidden, surrounded by towering trees, like a natural barrier. Under this dark night, no one seemed to be able to notice it at all. Inside. At this moment Gangyi is sitting here quietly, cross-legged, eyes closed, as if waiting for something. Phew, next second. Gangyi felt something, and he slowly opened his eyes. The air in front of you was invisible and intangible, and it began to twist gradually. Uchiha Obito quickly stepped out of it and came to Gangyi's eyes. At this moment, he is completely different from the previous dress. The orange wooden Uzumaki-shaped mask is gone, replaced by the white masks of the 3 Tomo Rinneganes. Behind a set of dark blue robes, there is also a huge fan-shaped ninja gear. And this time his eyes were no longer a single one, but 2 were revealed. The left eye is a rippling Rinnegan, and the right eye is the Sharingan of Yuhi Santomo. Call me here, what's the matter? Uchiha Obito looked at Gangyi and said in a deep voice. I have handed over the 4 tails to the village of Iwagakure, you can act now. Gangyi also didn't say anything polite, but responded coldly. Although the 2 are working together at the moment, they are the biggest enemy in the real sense. But Gangyi didn't take Uchiha Obito seriously, but Uchiha Obito didn't think so. He is still here on guard for Gangyi. This 5th generation Hokage is cunning by nature, and Uchiha Obito has completely lost his understanding of him. Besides, he knew himself like this, which made Uchiha Obito even more careful. The cooperation between the 2 is in each other's use. Once this kind of interest disappears, then it is time for the 2 to tear their faces once again. 4 tails have been handed over to Iwagakure village. Uchiha Obito's face froze behind the mask, a little weird. He really didn't expect that, in just a few days, Gangyi would unknowingly send the 4 tails out of Tsuchikujinoki in Iwagakure village, but he has always acted cautiously. Now for the situation on the side of the 4 tails, even Onoki needs it very much. Then it is impossible to take back the 4 tails of Konoha village so easily. Is there any trap in it? Uchiha Obito couldn't help thinking a lot in his mind. Yes, it is estimated that the tailed beast has arrived. Gangyi nodded and stood up. He smiled. If it doesn't matter what you say, then just leave the 4 tails there first. Hehe. Since the 4 tails have already been sent to Iwagakure village, it is natural to capture it. Uchiha Obito shrugged without thinking. Anyway, next to the 4 tails of Iwagakure village, I don't need to do it myself. With Kabuto's impure world reincarnation, those pointless adventures naturally don't use him. Even Gangyi and Onoki, now that they have some traps and plans, they won't have the slightest influence on themselves. The 4 tails are already a must for Uchiha Obito. Gangyi wants the plan to go faster, and now Uchiha Obito does the same. The plan has been going on for too long, and Uchiha Obito doesn't want to go to such a pointless delay anymore. That's fine too. Gong Yi pondered for a moment, then said, now, after you capture the 4 tails, I will be able to open the 5 Shadows conference rightfully. Next, at that time, I also need to watch your performance. Up at Uchiha Obito, Gong Yi smiled. Don't let me down, after all, we still need to join forces later. Since I have agreed to cooperate with you, I naturally understand. Uchiha Obito didn't say much, just nodded in response. Well, since you already have Rinnegan, your strength will be greatly enhanced. Gong Yi's eyes were fixed on Uchiha Obito's left eye, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Although this doesn't work for me, you should still be able to handle the other 4 shadows with ease. Hehe, Rinnegan's power is not just those used by Nagato. Feeling that Gong Yi was a little arrogant, Uchiha Obito smiled disdainfully. It's real power now, but it's very beautiful. It's just the eyes of Uchiha Madara. No matter how strong it is, how can it be? Gong Yi shrugged with a playful look on his face. Uchiha Madara's eyes. Hearing this, Uchiha Obito stared at Gong Yi. You sighed. I have to say, Gong Yi, your intelligence system is really powerful. Although I don't want to admit it, I do look down on you. Uchiha Obito is not very comfortable right now. He really underestimated Gong Yi. His own secrets, Uchiha Madara's secrets, did not seem to escape his eyes. Especially at this moment, Uchiha Obito was really surprised. He even knew about something so obscure as Rinnegan. Uchiha Obito couldn't help but be worried. Under such circumstances, would it affect his future plans? But after thinking about it, now Uchiha Obito is also gradually take it easy. I want to use the Resurrection 10 Tails, and then become the Jinchuriki column force of his own person. He should kill Gong Yi and he can't imagine it. Well, everything will come to an end at that time, and everything will dissipate completely. All the 2 and the grievances with the ninja continent can also be completely resolved. It's not that my intelligence system is strong. Shaking his head, Gong Yi sneered and vetoed. I've said it long ago, I know everything about the entire ninja continent, and neither you nor Uchiha Madara can escape my control. Can't escape your control. Hearing Gong Yi's arrogant tone, Uchiha Obito's face behind the mask showed frost. Although he didn't express anything, he took Gong Yi's words as a joke. The foresight Uchiha Obito naturally didn't know. All he knew was his own 10 Tails plan. With it as the core, you can end everything. Even including the very arrogant 5th generation Hokage Gong Yi in front of me. Every time I think of these, the current Uchiha Obito doesn't say much. He suppressed his thoughts, looked at Gong Yi and said indifferently, since the matter over the 4 tails has been settled, I will immediately to arrange. Okay. Gong Yi's face didn't change, and as soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared with a bang. HMPH, is it just a clone? Seeing this, Uchiha Obito looked stunned for a moment, and couldn't help but secretly said. Chapter 754. Not long. When the 2 have finished talking. When Gong Yi left, Uchiha Obito had also disappeared. Uchiha Obito has found Kabuto's place after getting the news that the 4 tails have now been handed over to the village of Iwagakure. In order to prevent too many dreams at night, Uchiha Obito also prepares without delay. Immediately after the arrangement is complete. Go to Iwagakure village to capture the current 4 tails. Ghost knows Gong Yi, will he have any other things? Now, only by grabbing the 4 tails and controlling them in his own hands, can Uchiha Obito feel at ease. Remained in the village of Iwagakure, Uchiha Obito is also extremely worried that something will happen. Resurrect the 10 tails is imminent, and Uchiha Obito has speeded everything up. Kabuto. Kamui's space ninjutsu was released, and an ethereal voice turned into reality. When Kabuto looked up, Uchiha Obito had appeared in front of him. It's been a long time, Mr. Madara. Looking at the appearance of Uchiha Obito, Kabuto pushed his glasses without revealing any surprises. At this moment, his entire face hidden under the brim of his hat was smiling faintly. There is one thing here that needs to be done by you. Uchiha Obito didn't say much, just straight to the point as always. As his current identity is Uchiha Madara, he is arrogant and defiant. For one such, junior, he naturally cannot show how respectful. At this moment, Kabuto naturally didn't mind at all, just sneered and said, "What's the matter?" Now Kabuto, although he knew something, he didn't expose it. Uchiha Obito's clumsy performance, Kabuto wanted to ridicule, but he held back. Now the 5th Hokage of Konoha village, he has handed over the 4 tails that he took away from you to Iwagakure village. What do you mean, you want me to go to Iwagakure village again and get the 4 tails back? Kabuto looked at Uchiha Obito and asked in a deep voice. That's right. Uchiha Obito nodded. I mean now, as you think. Since it has been handed over to the village of Iwagakure by the Hokage of the 5th generation, there is no problem in going anywhere. Silent for half a second, Kabuto nodded slowly. Since the 4 tails were lost in my hands last time, it is indeed what I need to catch it now. Then hurry up, Kabuto. Hearing that Kabuto agreed, Uchiha Obito continued, the plan can no longer be delayed. Don't delay the matter of the 4 tails. Of course I know that. Shrugging, Kabuto kept saying, I'll leave for Iwagakure village immediately. Then the 4 tails will be handed over to you. Hearing this, Uchiha Obito glanced at it and nodded, immediately. Disappeared here. Quote. See Uchiha Obito ahead. The smile on his face hidden under the brim of Nuo's hat gradually disappeared, replaced by a cold look. The faint candlelight flickered all around, and his round-framed lenses reflected a cold light. At this moment, Kabuto is like a cold-blooded poisonous snake waiting for an opportunity at any time. This time, although he knew the identity of Uchiha Obito, for his own purposes, he did not take the initiative to expose it. Everything is for his own future plans, and Kabuto also hides everything perfectly. Silence for a moment. The corners of Kabuto's mouth redrawn a smile. As if thinking of something, he turned around and left here. After half a day. Lord Hokage, something has been done in Kabuto. Konoha village, Hokage office. At this moment, Kimimaro stood in front of Gong Yi and reported. Has he left already? Stopping, Gong Yi looked up and asked Kimimaro. Yes, now he has left his position. Kimimaro nodded, but hesitated for a moment before continuing, but I'm not sure if it's as you guessed, Hokage-sama. However, his current direction should be the village of Iwagakure, the land of the land. Hee, basically it's not wrong. Gong Yi smiled, a hint of enlightenment on his face. Now Uchiha Obito naturally needs to use Kabuto, his master's impure world reincarnation, to capture the 4 tails. This, he had also spoken to Uchiha Obito before. After all, if you simply want to recover the tailed beasts and weaken the power of Iwagakure village, using impure world reincarnation is the most practical way. Especially now that Gong Yi actually knows one thing, Uchiha Obito is very cautious. As he thought, now the two seem to have teamed up. But he doesn't trust him at all, and Uchiha Obito doesn't trust himself at all. This 4-tailed monkey king, although there is a great temptation for Uchiha Obito, he also needs the 4 tails very much at the moment. But, Uchiha Obito will never go to Iwagakure himself to collect the 4 tails. Because he doesn't want to show the slightest in this current moment, nothing has happened. In this case, he can only choose Kabuto. After all, with the body of impure world reincarnation, Kabuto can easily run amok in Iwagakure village and get the 4 tails. Kabuto, I can also be safe, avoid risks, and get 4 tails at the same time. Very good and simple calculation. Gong Yi naturally knew Akatsuki long ago. Now if Uchiha Obito personally went there, Gong Yi would actually feel unbelievable now. Hearing Kimimaro's news today, Gong Yi's face showed a smile, there is no need to worry about the Kabuto side, let's arrange the next step first. Basically, a series of things after that, Gongyi has already explained to Kimimaro that he has cultivated since childhood. He is completely the super help that belongs to Gongyi at present. With him and Neji, and now with Sasuke, he has saved himself a lot of trouble. As for Naruto, Gongyi plans to use him to execute his plan after the Fourth Ninja War begins. After all, this protagonist, he is still a bit warm-blooded, and at the same time a bit brainless. His current plan still chose to hide him. After all, it has come to this moment, and Gongyi doesn't want too many bad situations. Blink of an eye, Gongyi continued to explain a few things to Kimimaro, and he left. And Gongyi here is also not idle. He immediately separated a Mokuten wood-style clone and left Konoha village. At this moment, he would naturally choose to monitor things in the Iwagakure village from the dark. Not enough just to have a consciousness clone, Gongyi still has to master the overall situation in person. Chapter 755. Disaster instead of peace. Open black lens bracket. Happy New Year's Eve. Close black lens bracket. The wind whistled by. Every time it is lifted, it will bring a piece of stone. Looking around, the whole place is full of towering rocks. They are very densely connected. That is to say, because of the environmental problems here, it has achieved its name as the Land of the Land. And because there are many top-secret natural fortresses formed by rocky mountains here, it has an easy-to-defense location, and it is difficult for the enemy to break into its interior, so the Land of the Land rarely encounters war. But, again, they have little communication with the outside world, which is also very difficult for environmental reasons. Iwagakure Village. As the armed forces of the Land of the Land, their overall combat power is also very high. At this moment, it was because of the birth of Gongyi, which in turn completed the village of Iwagakure. The leadership of Onoki, their entire village has developed into a strong and powerful ninja power. At present, in addition to Konoha village, Iwagakure village has become the second most powerful Omura in the ninja continent. At this moment, outside the village of Iwagakure, standing quietly in the distance, his eyes fixed on the position of the door, while a white spitting snake letter swam over under his feet. Looking down, it came up to his wrist. While there was a bang, and the white mist filled the air. The white snake has disappeared. Hee, I didn't expect to find the four tails so smoothly. The face hidden under the brim of the hat revealed a smile. Just after being separated from Uchiha Obito, Kabuto came to Iwagakure village without any delay. Of course, even though he came here, he could use the impure world reincarnation to make a fuss about the village of Iwagakure. But Kabuto didn't use any kind of stupidity. Not long ago, he used the reconnaissance white snake he channeled to find the location of the four-tailed Jinchuriki column force in the village of Iwagakure. This case, now he can also easily capture the four tails directly. Failed once before because of Gongyi. This made Kabuto feel a little ashamed. Now this time, if Iwagakure village is failing here, then Kabuto, he will doubt his current ability. Of course, at this moment, Kabuto quickly suppressed it. Having already obtained the power of Orochimaru-sama, no, even more than that. How could I fail? Okay, the game can begin. Hidden in the shadows in front of Iwagakure village, Kabuto curled his lips into a characteristic sneer. Say, immediately. Hand seal with both hands and pat down. The art of impure world reincarnation. Rumble. A coffin rises in front of Kabuto. With a bang, the coffin opened and there was a person inside. I saw that this man was very strange, and he did not wear a forehead guard on his head. And the whole body was wrapped in white bandages, only the eyes were exposed. At this moment, when the man opened his eyes, he looked at the village of Iwagakure in front of him, suddenly showing a hint of surprise. Why am I here? Seal. But without waiting for the man in front of him to think again, he drank with Kabuto's one-handed imprint. The man's eyes widened immediately, becoming emptiness. It might be more interesting though to keep you thinking. But just to be on the safe side, you'd better let me control it. Kabuto smiled and thought to himself. Next, it's time for your performance. Kabuto stared at the man covered in bandages in front of him, and he said with a faint smile, "Come on, second-generation Tsuchikage-sama." Huh. As soon as Kabuto's voice fell, the second-generation Tsuchikage's whole person immediately dodged away. The pair of eyes that seemed to have some memories of surprise just now have long since become, there is no expression at all. When he reappeared at this moment, he had already arrived at the gate of Iwagakure village. Phew. The number of ninja team guarding the door, they immediately saw the second-generation Tsuchikage at this time. Tension appeared on his face. Although they are the ninjas of Iwagakure village, they belong to the new generation of ninjas. Their impressions of the second generation of Tsuchikage are very vague. Although they know it, no one can tell the living person in front of them. Lenovo into the second generation Tsuchikage. A group of ninjas from Iwagakure village took out kunai and shuriken from their ninja kits behind them, and looked at the second generation Tsuchikage on alert. Although Gongyi killed the leader of Akatsuki, no one in the entire ninja continent let their guard down. In the current situation, especially in the village of Iwagakure, they have just spent a lot of resources to regain control of the four tails in the village of Konoha, and naturally they need to be strictly defended. From the current door, there are several patrolling ninja squads, so it can be easily seen. Doden Earth-style Earth Dragon Bullet. Hula Chakra burst out, condensing a huge Earth Dragon. Next second, the second-generation Tsuchikage didn't say any nonsense at all, and released the ninjutsu directly with both hands hand seal. And waiting for those patrolling the ninja team, is a terrifying Doden Earth-style dragon. It's the enemy, hurry up and inform Lord Tsuchikage. This guy, what do I look familiar to? Defense first. Iwagakure village ninjas led the team, they immediately drink up immediately. Hand seal. Doden Earth-style wall art. Doden Earth-style wall art. One after another towering earth walls at once. He jumped up from the ground and stopped all in front of him. However, these thick Doden Earth-style walls did not make them feel at ease for a while. Only a loud bang was heard, and the first Earth-style wall in front immediately shattered. Countless gravel constructions spread all around, and it can't stop the Earth Dragon of the second generation Tsuchikage at all. Of course, this didn't end at all. The roaring sound continued to appear, and only the last few Earth-style walls were actually disintegrated. Although it looks like the second generation Tsuchikage, what he unleashes is just an ordinary ninjutsu. But it's definitely not like them. Genin Chunin, it can be easily resisted. Ah! Get out of here. We simply can't resist him. Screams and roars, accompanied by the roar of the surrounding, have already been composed into the dirge of Iwagakure village. They would never have dreamed that the arrival of the tailed beast would bring them not peace, but never-ending disasters. At this time, the Earth Dragon released by the second generation Tsuchikage in front of them was already in the village of Iwagakure, running rampant in the ninja squad. It went, there were pieces of corpses. All the ninjas of Iwagakure village still can't resist it at all. Just a short while, there were no living people at the gate of the entire Iwagakure village. The entire land was severely damaged, and countless rubble was scattered on the ground. At this moment, it looked like ruins. And the expressionless second-generation Tsuchikage, also immediately stepping into the village of Iwagakure. I wish everyone a happy New Year's Eve. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read and collect, push the latest chapter. Chapter 756. No second-generation Tsuchikage. Haha, Kabuto actually brought out the second-generation Tsuchikage Impure World Reincarnation. In the dark place on the other side, this place is far away from the village of Iwagakure. At this moment, Gongyi used his powerful spiritual sense to feel everything in Iwagakure village quietly. Just after the battle between the second-generation Tsuchikage and the Gate Patrol Ninja, he clearly felt it. Strange smile appeared on his handsome face. Gongyi's kung fu skills couldn't help but play. This Kabuto is really good at playing, and he actually used the second-generation Tsuchikage to destroy his own village. Hehe, I don't know what Onoki will look like if he sees this. The second-generation Tsuchikage. Whispering inwardly. As the master, Gongyi, who has almost everyone on the entire ninja continent, is also very familiar with the second-generation Tsuchikage in front of him. His name is Nothing. Is the second-generation Tsuchikage of the village of Iwagakure in the land of the land. Wise general, known for intrigue and politics. Has a blood-following elimination that surpasses Kekkei Genkei, Jinten particle style. He is also one of the few ninjas who can fly in the 5 kingdoms. The ability of the third-generation Tsuchikage Onoki was still taught to him by the second-generation Tsuchikage. Onoki, the stubborn little old man, is the disciple of the second-generation Tsuchikage. As for the reason why he is like this now, it is because of the second-generation Tsuchikage, when he fought against the second-generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon when he was young. Because the skin of the whole body was steamed up by the second-generation Mizukage. Because of the burns, the whole body was wrapped in bandages, and it was impossible to see its true face. Gongyi is completely familiar with this picture of him wearing a black ribbon as a forehead guard and wearing black pants. Of course, Gongyi seems to be a little bit unclear about his real face. No, I should say I haven't seen it at all. The blood of the second-generation Tsuchikage has been eliminated. It can simultaneously emit the nature transformation of local fire, and uses Jinten particle style as a weapon. It was in a world of war. Has excellent perception ability, and is also good at using stealth, splitting and other colorful ninjutsu. Well, Kabuto should also know the second-generation Tsuchikage. Him deal with this village of Iwagakure will indeed have a miraculous effect. The second-generation Tsuchikage in his own consciousness perception, his ability is very difficult to check and balance. It is estimated that now that Onoki has seen this, the second-generation Tsuchikage, his thoughts must be very complicated. After all, after the death of the first-generation Tsuchikage, there was no successor to Tsuchikage, and during the period of his control, Iwagakure village got 4 tails and 5 tails. The appearance of the tailed beasts consolidated the village's defense against the invasion of the enemy, which made Iwagakure village attempt to acquire more tailed beasts. The second-generation Tsuchikage, he later developed a series of blood that can reduce everything to ashes with fewer enemies, Jinten particle style. This ability has a profound impact on future generations. During his tenure in office, Wuya imitated the superb political tactics carried out by the second-generation Hokage, and established a ninja school in order to protect the inheritance of his will. Among the gods that only high-ranking people can enter, put the precious stones of Iwagakure village. As the symbol of the village. He will of stone. Of Iwagakure village, influence the growth and development of Iwagakure younger generation. It can be said that he is also the man who truly started the era of Iwagakure village. If the first war did not break out at the end, the second-generation Tsuchikage and the second-generation Mizukage would not have perished in this war. Then the subsequent development of Iwagakure village will definitely not be as strong as it is today. Meanwhile, on the field. Doden Earth-style clay giant. When the second-generation Tsuchikage entered the village of Iwagakure, he continued to release his ninjutsu with both hands and hand seal. A stone giant with a height of 5 or 6 stories, it immediately appeared at the foot of the second-generation Tsuchikage. Are many ninjas in the village of Iwagakure around, and there Yuhi keeps throwing kunai shuriken with eyes. And the crisp sound appeared one after another, and there were countless dense kunai and shuriken. After they hit the stone giant, all of them just stirred up a burst of sparks. Damn, did you notify Tsuchikage-sama now? Iwagakure village, who is in charge of the second defensive line here, turned his head and shouted. The second generation Tsuchikage ahead, he is completely unstoppable. The stone giant under his feet is destroying wantonly at this moment, constantly trampling on all the ninjas that block it. Someone has been sent to inform. At this time, another elite Iwagakure responded immediately. Sir Yamazaki will bring Anbu right away, we are persevering. Understood. Understood. Iwagakure village all around, after hearing the name of Yamazaki Akashi, also showed a burst of excitement on their faces. This is currently trusted by Tsuchikage and is the #1 Anbu with powerful strength, and every ninja in Iwagakure village is also very optimistic about him. With him here, at least he won't be as passive as he is now. Bang! What did you say? Just as the fighting continued at the gate of Iwagakure village, Onoki also got news. His face was extremely gloomy at the moment, and the murderous intent on his entire face could not be hidden at all. He Akatsuki really thinks I have no one in Iwagakure village and can be bullied at will. Onoki slapped the table angrily, he couldn't keep his composure at all. He was humiliated by Akatsuki having taken the 5 tails before. Now, he has just brought 4 tails back from Konoha village using resources. They Akatsuki actually came here and wanted to take away the tailed beast. No matter how good-tempered Onoki was, even if he was scheming, he couldn't help it. For Onoki, Akatsuki completely touched his bottom line. Coming to his Iwagakure village again and again, this is ignoring Onoki. Onoki, who is stubborn and narrow-minded, was about to leave immediately. Yamazaki. But next second. When he was about to leave, it was immediately. Drink. Lord Tsuchikage. Yamazaki Akashi immediately appears in front, looking at Onoki. Akatsuki entered my Iwagakure again, you immediately. Leave the Anbu ninja and leave him to me. With a gloomy face, Onoki bit Kiba and cursed. This time, no matter what, leave him to me. Yes, Tsuchikage-sama. Aka Yamazaki nodded, immediately. Dodge and disappear. Lois, you immediately. Protect the 4-tailed Jinchuriki column force with a large force. Although Onoki was extremely angry, he was not carried away. When everything was arranged, he did so immediately. Dodged and left the office. Chapter 757. Boom, boom. In the Iwagakure at this moment, a huge sound is constantly appearing. Stepping on the stone giant, the second generation Tsuchikage is staring at him at the moment. Ordinary genin can't resist him at all. And there were only a few jonin and chunin, the only ones who could hold him back. But, that is, it can only drag his footsteps. Now because they are in the village of Iwagakure, their group of ninjas dare not use large-scale ninjutsu and compound ninjutsu at all. The ninjas in Iwagakure village are good at Doden, Earth-style ninjutsu, but basically all Doden, Earth-style ninjutsu are extremely destructive ninjutsu. Everyone in Iwagakure village is also really very uncomfortable. Because they don't dare to use other ninjutsu easily here except using the small Doden, Earth-style ninjutsu. If one is not careful, the enemy in front may have nothing to do, then the village of Iwagakure was destroyed by more than half. Doden, Earth-style, Earth Dragon Bullet. But, soon, while a group of Iwagakure village ninja kept retreating, a powerful Doden, Earth-style, ninjutsu came galloping from behind. Growl. An Earth Dragon condensed from Earth attribute chakra, its pair of Yuhi eyes glowed, and its tail was waving towards the second generation Tsuchikage in front. Another loud roar came out. But it's not that the ninjutsu is useless this time, but it really has an effect. I saw the stone giant at the foot of the second generation Tsuchikage immediately collapsed and shattered into countless pieces of mud. Who just went forward bravely and was not afraid of any ninjutsu has completely become nothingness. It's Yamazaki-sama. Hey, you, re-saved. Yamazaki-sama is here. All Iwagakure village ninjas are excited at the moment. They turned around and saw that it was Yamazaki Akashi who had just released this ninjutsu. Hee, the plan seems to be very successful. Gong Yi, who was hiding on the outskirts of Iwagakure village, had been using his spiritual sense to observe and sneered. Now seeing the appearance of Yamazaki Akashi, combined with the reactions of the ninjas in Iwagakure village, Gong Yi's game of chess can be described as killing more birds with one stone. Today, the 4 tails will not only be successfully obtained by Uchiha Obito, but the follow-up plan can continue smoothly. The appearance of this second generation of Tsuchikage, Iwagakure village was severely weakened. At the same time, by taking advantage of today's disaster, one can also make one's own consciousness clone prestige in the entire Iwagakure village and rise to a new stage again. Well, it is estimated that no one will think of it now. Now they rely on Yamazaki-sama who they support, who is the avatar of their current biggest enemy. If once the 4th generation Tsuchikage of Iwagakure village is really handed over to the avatar of consciousness, then everything will be very interesting. Gong Yi actually blinked a bit when he thought of this. In front of Iwagakure village, when Yamazaki Akashi appeared, the morale of the whole was also rekindled. The very elite ninjas he brought this time. According to Gong Yi's plan, Yamazaki Akashi selected many ninjas who would threaten Konoha village in the future. Today is just the opportunity to let them die here. As for Uchiha Obito, this is his arrest plan. But for Gong Yi, his plan belongs to the weakening plan. Ina, that's not the 2nd generation Tsuchikage, Sama. When coming to the battlefield, one of the Iwagakure ninjas immediately. His face changed dramatically, he looked forward and exclaimed. As an elite of the older generation in Iwagakure village, he still has some impressions of the 2nd generation Tsuchikage. I said how familiar it is, this is really the 2nd generation Tsuchikage. What's going on? How could the 2nd generation Tsuchikage suddenly come alive? Quote. At this moment, a group of Iwagakure village ninjas were all shocked one after another. With the superb Doden, Earth-style, ninjutsu ahead. And he can float above the sky hole. Everyone can be completely sure. The man in front of them is none other than Tsuchikage, the 2nd generation of their Iwagakure village. It's impure world reincarnation. At this time, Yamazaki Akaji, immediately. Open your mouth to clear everyone's confusion. This is a forbidden technique that revives the dead and erases consciousness. Yamazaki flashed in front of the crowd with a stern expression on his face and shouted, he is no longer the 2nd generation Tsuchikage we know, now give me all my power to stop him from entering Iwagakure village. Tumu, go and lead the Perception Ninja team and find me the Akatsuki members who performed this technique. The entire front, at this moment, Yamazaki Akashi has become the commander. He was also very calm at the moment, and said here, only need to find the Akatsuki member who performed the spell, and the 2nd generation Tsuchikage in front of him can truly disappear. Yes, Yamazaki-sama. The rest of the Iwagakure ninjas in the rear were not unhappy at all, but immediately nodding and walking away from each other. As for the other Iwagakure village ninjas, their faces were serious and immediately looking forward to confront the 2nd generation Tsuchikage. Doden, Earth-style, rock drainage technique. In the blink of an eye, it took less than half a second, and the 2nd generation Tsuchikage continued to hand seal expressionlessly. It seems that now he has only one goal. That is to destroy this place, kill the ninja blocking him in front of him, and capture the 4-tailed Jinchuriki column force. Boom! The buildings in the village of Iwagakure in front of Yamazaki were completely damaged, and the whole piece of land began to crumble. They are continuously attracted to the sky, and then condensed into the shape of small meteorites. Swish swish swish, when they were all condensed, they slammed down toward Yamazaki and the others in front of them one after another. Of course, it's not over. Doden, Earth-style, super-weighted boulder jutsu. Ahem, when the 2nd generation Tsuchikage pointed forward. Those dozens of Doden, Earth-style, meteorites, they immediately It seems to have been a lot heavier. The howling wind was louder before, making people feel a sense of oppression that they couldn't breathe. Quick, defense. Yamazaki Akashi waved his hand and sent all the elite Iwagakure village members he brought to the front line. In such a panic, no one has noticed the scene of Yamazaki Akashi using his ninja power indiscriminately. Other hand, a group of ninjas from the village of Iwagakure are still there, thinking that this is Yamazaki Akashi's righteousness, and letting them resist on the front line is to protect them. Doden, Earth Style Wall Art. Doden, Earth Style. One after another of ninjutsu at once. Appearing, after all, he is indeed the elite of Iwagakure village. They are fast, immediately. Begin to show strong qualities. Who was beside them, showed a faint smile. Gong Yi had fully explained him before, and now the avatar of consciousness naturally knows what to do. Today, just take advantage of this good opportunity to consume the power of Iwagakure village as much as possible. Chapter 758. The Role of the Elite Ninja. It seems that this time, Iwagakure village is really going to suffer heavy losses. Standing here quietly, Gong Yi looked at the village of Iwagakure ahead. Although the distance is not very close, the thick smoke wafting from above can still be seen. At this moment, the Iwagakure village has been destroyed beyond recognition. Although the second-generation Tsuchikage was blocked at the entrance of Iwagakure village, it was because of the avatar of divine consciousness. Just this short time, there have been countless deaths and injuries. Especially when being cloned by divine consciousness, that, carefully selected. As elite. They also died a lot by accident. At least for the next few years, Onoki will be sore enough. Ninjas are symbols of strength, and their number depends on the strength of the village. And those elites are the top priority of a ninja village. Their future, but the top combat power of the entire village, is also the power to deter other villages. Their existence, the village can have a better development. Pity that ninjas are difficult to cultivate, but the elites of these ninjas are even more difficult to cultivate. Gong Yi, who is the fifth-generation Hokage, has a very big emotion. At the beginning, he actually didn't know all of this, and he didn't feel anything. After all, in his perception, geniuses are generally running all over the place, and monsters are flying all over the sky. Looking at Hokage ninjas at the time, it was just a Konoha village. A dozen young men came here and so on. However, after Gong Yi really became the fifth generation of Hokage, he didn't know. I really think too much. It's impossible to really train a ninja like Kimimaro, Hyuga Neji, and Sasuke. Basically, I can't find one out of tens of thousands of people. And the existence of Konoha 12 Shaoqiang is also almost difficult to encounter. After becoming Hokage, Gong Yi feels that he is also the son of luck. Met and Got were all very powerful and talented ninjas. Think carefully, whether it is Iwagakure village, Sunagakure village, or Kurigakure village. They are all ninja Omura, and they are very famous in the ninja world. But if you think about it carefully, there are very few ninjas who can really take out their hands. At the beginning, only Sanin in Konoha village was famous enough. Because they are elite enough, the rest of the ninja Omura are very afraid. Well, that's it. It's enough to see that the elite ninjas are a very valuable resource for the ninja village. They are the absolute force to frighten the outer village, and also the branch Jinchuriki column of a ninja village. But that's how it exists. Now that this is a kung fu, Iwagakure village has lost so many elite ninjas without doing anything. Onoki was not only in pain, he was feeling the pain right now. In fact, thinking of this, Gong Yi's handsome face smiled even more. But that's fine. Invisibly, he made Iwagakure village an Akatsuki, making Onoki even more resentful of Akatsuki. Wouldn't it be possible to start the Five Shadows Conference by himself after fulfilling himself, presumably not waiting? The rest of the ninja villages responded, and the first Iwagakure village would actively call for it. After all, Akatsuki, they could touch Onoki's bottom line. entering the village for the first time and snatching the 5 tails. This time, Impure World Reincarnation released the second generation Tsuchikage to destroy their Iwagakure village and kill their countless ninjutsu and elites. The end, he also captured the tailed beast that was traded with high-value resources. Shaking his head, Gongyi felt that Onoki was a bit miserable now. If it were him, he would have gone directly to Akatsuki's headquarters to erase it all. After all, as a shadow, such provocation, and such a thing, is a serious humiliation. Damn Akatsuki, it's so deceiving. At this time, there was a sound of anger. A gloomy little old man, he stood in the air biting kiba and cursing. Third generation of Tsuchikajinoki, the moment has finally arrived. He looked at the door of the Iwagakure village, which was now in ruins. At the same time, looking at the corpse of the ninja, the whole person is also heartbroken. I finally pushed Iwagakure village to its peak and became the existence second only to Konoha village. Now, because of Akatsuki, all my hard work seems to have been in vain. Especially this skill, and now Onoki is even more angry after seeing the second generation Tsuchikage in front of him. That was his teacher, and someone he greatly respected. Now this skill is being used by Akatsuki's people as a killing machine to destroy Iwagakure village. This is Onoki, completely unacceptable. Impure World Reincarnation. Although this ninjutsu was developed by Hokage Senju Tobarama, the second generation of Konoha village. But this forbidden technique is not only the master of Konoha village now. In this way, Onoki did not suspect Konoha village at all, but he was still angry with Akatsuki here. After all, in the entire ninja continent, only Akatsuki needs tailed beasts. And after the 5 tails of their own village were captured, their Akatsuki actually came here and wanted to get their hands on the 4 tails. A powerful chakra suddenly vented out. Still a cage-level ninja, and he is also a master who has existed in Iwagakure village for so long. Onoki's strength is still very strong. If not for his advanced age, some of them are aging. Now that Onoki is placed in the ninja continent, and his blood is eliminated, he is already a first-class ninja. Enough to make countless people in the ninja village fear. Like the original Sarutobi Hiruzen, no matter how powerful he is, he cannot escape the baptism of time. That Onoki can really exert now is actually very limited. Looking at Onoki at this moment, his hair and beard had already turned white, and his face was even more wrinkled. Such a little old man makes people feel weak just by looking at him. Doden Earth-style Rock Fist. However, at this moment, Onoki burst out with chakra. Of being a cage-level ninja is once again revealed. At this moment, Onoki, who was already angry, immediately. One of the arms entered the petrification. Immediately afterwards, it seemed to skyrocket countless times. This arm is equivalent to 30% of Onoki's body. Whoosh! Blink! Onoki immediately when everything is ready. Rush out! When he reappeared, he was already in front of the second generation Tsuchikage. Doden Earth-style Rock Fist. At this time, the second generation Tsuchikage also responded quickly. He was also immediately single arm petrified and became thick and huge immediately. Confronted the past. Boom. To read the Chapter 759. A puppet show in the ninja world. Incomparable anger on his face, Onoki is now fighting against the second generation Tsuchikage. When the two fight, Yamazaki Akagi and others will immediately dodged back to the back. Now that Onoki has taken action, naturally there is nothing to do with them. Doden Earth-style Tsuchikage. Onoki began to release chakra continuously, condensing it into an ninjutsu attack to the second generation Tsuchikage. Doden Earth-style Wall. The second generation Tsuchikage also began to defend instinctively, and did not bite the bullet and rushed forward. Onoki is still a cage-level powerhouse after all, and at this moment he is not at all disadvantaged. On the other hand, the second generation Tsuchikage, although not weak, is the body of impure world reincarnation after all. His power has been completely shrunk long ago, and he can't even play half of what he was before birth. Well, that's why a group of ninjas alone can stop him. The current second-generation Tsuchikage has long since erased his personality, has no self-awareness, and has become a pure murder tool. At this moment, he can only act according to the arrangement of the caster Kabuto. Were loud noises all around. Onoki and the second-generation Tsuchikage, although most of them use small doden, earth-style ninjutsu. But the tens of kilometers around the gate of Iwagakure village were all destroyed and turned into ruins. Houses collapsed, and the flat earth shattered into gulfs. The dense cracks on it continue to spread, like a big spider web. These 3 generations of Tsuchikage are really young. When the 2 Tsuchikages meet and start a fight. As the controller of the whole situation, Gong Yi laughed secretly and joked. It's probably still there now, Onoki biting Kiba and fighting the second-generation Tsuchikage, you can't imagine it. He has been clever and calculated all his life, but in the end he was turned into a pawn by Gong Yi. The terrifying sense of consciousness continued to spread, and at this moment Gong Yi had already enveloped half of the Iwagakure village in front of him. At this time, most of Onoki's strength was also exposed to Gong Yi's eyes. Of course, now Gong Yi is just there to monitor the whole situation. Gong Yi has absolutely no interest in Onoki's strength. Whether his strength is strong or not has no effect on Gong Yi. As a perfect master, he has the power of 10 tails, and there is nothing he fears in the entire ninja world. Only people who can be called Gong Yi's enemies at this moment are the 10 tails Uchiha Madara and Otsutsuki Kagaya. No, even the 2 of them wouldn't be worth Gong Yi's fear at all. Looking around, he has already stood at the top of the ninja world continent. Ninja continent is like an interesting puppet show. And Gong Yi, who is behind the controls, the puppet performer. In the field, the fighting between the 2 sides has intensified. At this moment, although Onoki bit Kiba with all his strength, he killed the second 2 shadows twice. But almost nothing works. As an impure world reincarnation, he can only be killed and can only be sealed. And Onoki also already knew that it is impossible to completely solve the second-generation Tsuchikage without sealing. Yamazaki, immediately. Get all the seal classes, and when I disperse his body again, immediately. Seal it. Understood, Tsuchikage-sama. Gong Yi's consciousness clone Yamazaki Akashi, he nodded immediately. Left here. Now basically Iwagakure village has been weakened a lot, and Gong Yi's mission has been completed. Well, to put it simply, he has nothing to do here. Jinten particle style detachment of the primitive world technique. Seeing that Yamazaki Akachi had left, Onoki's side was also immediately used his own blood to follow the elimination. Jinten particle style detachment of the primitive world technique. Conversely, the second generation of Tsuchikage is also immediately used out. Onoki's blood continued to be eliminated, or from the second generation Tsuchikage. The murderous intent soaring to the sky was vented around, and a white square light Jinchuriki column came out between Onoki's hands. The square white light Jinchuriki column, although it looks like an ordinary light. But it's not. It already contains a shocking atmosphere of destruction. Everything around it, as long as it is close to the light Jinchuriki column of this detachment of the primitive world technique, any object will be turned into an atomic state. White square light Jinchuriki column, it is unstoppable, and everything that hinders it, will immediately turned into dust. But the other side. Waiting for Onoki, not the second generation Tsuchikage turned into dust. Now his hands can only be seen, and a white light Jinchuriki column has already appeared. Although the aura of destruction was somewhat weakened, it was still shocking. Same as Onoki's blood follower elimination, except this is a light Jinchuriki column in the shape of a round Jinchuriki column. This Jinten particle style, with two forms but the same essence, just one circle and one circle, shocked all the ninjas in Iwagakure village. In their eyes, this is no longer Akatsuki and Iwagakure village. It's the second generation Tsuchikage and the third generation Tsuchikage. A battle across the century. The scene is so shocking that people can't help but open their mouths and exclaim. Bang! When the two attentions met, it was just a soft sound for a moment. Immediately, with a loud bang, the two rays of light Jinchuriki column began to devour each other. Now it can be clearly seen that Onoki's Jinten particle style gradually began to suppress Jinten particle style of the second generation Tsuchikage. It is still the body of the impure world reincarnation. After his consciousness was wiped out, Kabuto deliberately weakened his strength in order to prevent accidents. In this way, the second generation Tsuchikage in this state is very difficult to compete with Onoki. Teacher, it is shameful for you to appear again in this way. A white light reflected on Onoki's face. He bit Kiba and secretly said, now the disciple will send you back. Boom. As soon as Onoki's voice fell, the square-shaped Jinten particle style light Jinchuriki column instantly devoured the second generation Hokage's circular light Jinchuriki column. Next second, I saw that his entire body, which was attached to it, once again collapsed and turned into molecules. Now it seems that Onoki destroyed the second generation Tsuchikage, but no one cheered. Because the scene can be seen once again, the corpse of the second generation Tsuchikage has been transformed into a molecule and reorganized again. Secret seal art. Secret seal art. But at this time, when the body of the second generation Tsuchikage was about to recover, the seal class brought back by Akaka Yamazaki had already fled. They looked serious immediately. Take out the scroll that you carry behind you, and then immediately open the imprint with one hand. The entire surrounding seal class, immediately, completely seals the body of the second generation Tsuchikage in front of it. While, his whole person was wrapped into a zongzi. Oh, it's so naive. When Iwagakure village seems to be very efficient. Gong Yi, who was on the periphery, showed a sneer. Chapter 760, The Death of Lois. Peripheral. Onoki seems to have sealed the second generation Tsuchikage here, but Gong Yi shook his head. Because now all this is not as simple as they thought. Great, we made it. Next we just need to find the Akatsuki guy and win. This time, our tailed beast will never be taken away again. Meanwhile, in the village of Iwagakure. When they saw that the second generation Tsuchikage in front of him had stopped moving, a group of ninjas from the village of Iwagakure who knew nothing at all couldn't help but get excited. A pair of eyes gleamed in their eyes, and their faces showed a look of excitement. All the ninjas in Iwagakure village gradually let go of their hearts that were just hanging. The fierce battle just experienced has finally come to an end. But, now though a group of ninjas from the village of Iwagakure are very excited. Onoki, who had just fought the second generation Tsuchikage, his face did not relax at all. Because of the current Onoki, I felt something was wrong. His face is serious, but now the whole person has not found the cause of the problem. His eyes away from the second generation Tsuchikage, who had been completely sealed, Onoki always felt that something was wrong. It's a pity that he's a bit biased, and he can't always say it now. No, not right. Next second. When Onoki seemed to recall something, his face immediately turned. Become pale. A sigh inwardly. Onoki immediately. Look in the other direction. There is the location where Lois is leading a large force and is evacuating Iwagakure village with Jinchuriki column force. Boom. At this look, that location has already started to blaze into the sky. Although the location is not close, the tremors from there still spread to here. All are still there, the excited ninjas of Iwagakure village, all stunned here. They were totally unexpected. Not over yet, and Akatsuki has another impure world reincarnation guy. No, it's not the impure world reincarnation guy, but the second generation Tsuchikage. Onoki immediately. Frowning tightly, he cursed in that direction. This is the second generation Tsuchikage's secret technique. Wu Chen is obsessed. Wu Chen fans. All the ninjas in the village of Iwagakure were taken aback. They have never heard of it, and now there is still this secret technique. This is a kind of auxiliary ninjutsu with only one function. That is to have the terrifying invisibility ability that makes people unable to perceive chakra. Right. Gong Yi, who is now on the periphery, is actually long overdue. Just when they sealed the second generation Tsuchikage, he used Jin Chan to escape from here. Today's goal is to weaken the village of Iwagakure. But now the real purpose is Sun Wukong. Kabuto is not stupid. Naturally it is impossible to continue to consume in such a senseless way. Wu Chen's magic of confusion. The original second generation Tsuchikage Wu is relying on this ability, is known as No One. Although this secret technique can make people unable to perceive chakra. But it has no effect on Gong Yi. When the fourth seed of consciousness has appeared, none of the invisible ninjutsu in the entire ninja world can escape Gong Yi's perception. Well, this is why Gong Yi mocked the relationship between Iwagakure village and others before. They've been deceived, and they're still complacent there. Of course, today's action, I know it. At the same time, this is the opportunity to get rid of Onoki's son Lois. As long as we take advantage of the chaos today and kill Lois directly, the position of the fourth generation Tsuchikage will basically belong to the avatar of divine consciousness. If Lois doesn't die, Onoki probably won't let go easily. After all, they still insist on wanting a family inheritance. This is not allowed by Gong Yi. Allowed. Today, by mistake, I used Kabuto's impure world reincarnation to get rid of Lois. Isn't it beautiful that I have paid 4 taels, but it has given Gong Yi an unprecedented benefit. At the same time, while Gong Yi was still thinking to himself, Onoki here quickly left. Although he is old now, he has consumed a lot of physical strength in the battle with the second generation Tsuchikage. However, with such an imminent matter now, he didn't feel tired at all. This will follow, and now Yamazaki Akashi and the rest of Anbu's elite ninjas. The rest of the ninjas bit Kiba's teeth, all wanting at once. Supporting the troops on Lois' side, but Yamazaki Akaji just wanted to get some information. Yamazaki Akatsuki naturally didn't know Akatsuki when Gong Yi came here, so he was still there, act according to his own instincts. Doden Earth Style Earth Dragon Bullet. Doden Earth Style Earth Spear Technique. Doden Earth Style. On the second battlefield, at this moment, one by one Iwagakure village ninjas are struggling to resist. Kiba with pale faces, and kept releasing ninjutsu with hand seal. No one would have imagined that the enemy who was still at the gate of Iwagakure village would suddenly appear here. Now the entire force of the escort Jinchuiki column has suffered heavy losses. Lois, who was in charge of commanding them, was immediately killed by the second generation Tsuchikage's poisonous hand. The rest of the Iwagakure village ninjas who did not react also died in an instant. The person they are protecting now, Jinchuiki column force, is also caught in the hands of the second generation Tsuchikage. He had closed his eyes and was apparently in a coma. Damn, now we must keep him. We'll be fine when Lord Tsuchikage comes here. You must not let him leave and escape. All the ninjas in Iwagakure village, they are holding a look of death, and they are constantly releasing ninjutsu to contain the second generation Tsuchikage. Now, he is not fighting back at all, but immediately. With the power of the four-tailed Jinchuiki column, it immediately rises to the sky. Left. Everyone does not have a secret technique that master can fly to the sky, and each of them can only watch all this powerlessly. In this way, I can only watch the second generation Tsuchikage and take away the Jinchuiki column force of the four-tailed man. Everyone was very frustrated, and some even couldn't help but want to vomit blood. The second time, Akatsuki took their people Jinchuiki column force for the second time. Also this time, their Iwagakure village suffered a heavy loss. Historically, the village they had just risen to seemed once again lost because of Akatsuki. And looking at the corpses around them, their overall combat power can instantly drop to the bottom. Now no one thought that the return of the Four Tails would bring such a disaster to the village of Iwagakure. Hint of despair on their faces, and they could only watch the second-generation Tsuchikage in the sky gradually turn into a black spot and finally disappear. The distance of ninjutsu cannot be reached, and they have no way to chase.